Hello, good afternoon. Thank you so much for choosing us. This is ChannelOne Television. It's a Sunday afternoon, and unfortunately, we have some bad news, not so good news. We're going back to the site or the scene of the building collapse at Avenor in North Kaneshie here in Accra, where search and rescue operations are still ongoing. We understand that one has unfortunately lost their life, and emergency responders are still working, sifting through the rubble to help rescue whoever remains trapped in that rubble. Quite unfortunate. I am Tuffour, but I'm in studio with Fred Djabanor, and we'll be looking at this search and rescue operation that is currently underway at Avenor in North Kaneshie. Quite unfortunate news for a Sunday afternoon.
Sammy, I just called you Sammy Tuffour.
There's no situation.
There's no situation. Quite unfortunate. We woke up early this morning to hear about the collapse of the building. It was a prayer of everyone that we wouldn't have any casualty. It was a prayer of everyone that by now would have rescued everybody within who was occupying this particular building, but that has not been the case. As we speak now, we are told that one person has been confirmed dead. One person has been rescued. There are some other people who are stuck in the rubble. And the officials of the security agencies have been working tirelessly. And this situation is much worrying because the rains are still coming, and they have to work through the rains to be able to rescue these people who are within this particular building. A very sad moment, a very difficult period for the officials working on this particular issue. But it brings us back to a much bigger concern. Nana, the rains have exposed so many things in this country that even though we know, we have not really taken seriously. We talk about them and we let go. The rains in the past few weeks have exposed our lack of planning. The rains in the past week have exposed how we are bad at engineering or are not following advice from engineers. The rains in the past weeks have exposed even our buildings and how we construct our buildings. This is not the first building which has collapsed. Last Wednesday, when the rains came again, the building in Adenta collapsed. Some few weeks or months ago, we also recorded another building collapse. And it's becoming very worrying, especially as we've always said that what are the rules, what are the regulations, what are the officials doing to ensure that people are following the regulations. We've heard of demolitions, we've heard of concerns of people building in waterways. We've heard of concerns of people not even following the regulations when building, and it's becoming worrying and something we need to deal with.
Right, Fred, let's go back to the scene or the site of the building collapse. Jude Mensah Duncan is still on the ground. He's joining us live. Hello, Jude. Thank you so much for the good work you're doing out there. What is the update currently? Well, we're still working to get Jude to speak to us on the update as the search and rescue operation led by the Ghana National Fire Service is underway at Avenor in North Kaneshie, where we understand a 3-story building, which is still under construction, has collapsed. Authorities have confirmed the death of one person, and one has been rescued and is receiving treatment. We're praying and hoping that all other victims will be rescued alive. Let's go back to Jude Duncan. Jude, thank you so much.
Hello.
I'm asking what the update is currently.
Hello. Charlie, increase Nana to 4 small in my voice.
What is the update? Has there been any other rescue since you first reported?
So Nana to 4, the update here at the Avenor, the site where the building collapsed, is that one more person has been retrieved. Hello, Nana to 4, can you hear me? So I'm saying the update here at the Avenor site where the building collapse took place is that one more person has been retrieved under the rubble. This brings to a total 3 persons who have successfully been retrieved. Now, the good news is that 2 persons have passed, or rather, the unfortunate news, I beg your pardon, is that 2 persons have passed and 1 person has survived. The survivor has been treated by the National Ambulance Service that were here earlier, and he's been discharged. I spoke to him earlier, I'm referring to the survivor, and he said to me that although he was relieved to not be trapped under the rubble, he has friends and he knows people who are still trapped under the rubble, and it was making it very difficult for him, knowing that people he know and stayed with and did a lot of things together with are stuck under the rubble. So the update is that 1 more person has been retrieved, but unfortunately the person did not survive. We are being told that it's believed the most recent person retrieved was male. We don't have the full details as to the identity of the person, but some onlookers here tell me that it is somebody who they know or believe to be staying inside the building, using the place as a temporary place of abode. So now for the update, as I can tell you from Avenor, is that 3 persons or 3 bodies have been recovered. 2 of them, unfortunately, have passed, and 1 of them survived. The Interior Minister, the Minister for the Interior, Mubarak Muntaka, is here. The Accra Mayor Nick Bakpo is also here. We've seen the Chief Fire Officer also make her way here, and they are supervising or looking on as the rescue effort is going on. A lot is happening right now. As of the time I got to this scene at around 7 a.m. in the morning, there was no excavator here. In fact, we had to wait up until close to 10 a.m. before we saw the first excavator arrive. Some few minutes later, another one joined. But as you can see in your shots right now, we have close to 6 excavators, or let me be specific, right? I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 excavators. There's another one, I think, around, but has been taken back, and I'm sure they'll probably return it to continue the effort in rescuing those who have been trapped under the rubble. The Vice President, Her Excellency, Professor Jane Nano Pokwa-Jeman, made her way here. She saw the extent of damage and spoke to the press in the aftermath of her assessment of the situation. Now, according to the Vice President, it was important that as citizens, we all act together in a manner that do not create some of these problems. And she was talking about building on waterways. She was making reference to other conduct by residents that can create situations like this. She also made mention of the fact that we all play our role to ensure that whatever the endeavor we are engaged in, we play by the rule. Play by the rule in the sense that we go through all the right processes required in terms of documentation, in terms of building permits, so that instances like this do not repeat again. So those were the words of the Vice President. She also took time to commend the officials who are here working, helping with the rescue effort. She thanked the police service, the military, the Ghana National Fire Service, the ambulance service, as well as NADMO and officials from the National Security for their effort in trying to retrieve and rescue persons who have been affected by this. The Member of Parliament also took time to engage me. I asked him questions around the delay in the excavators arriving on time. And he said to me that although the DRIP project gave each district an excavator, the movement of such excavators, because of the nature of these heavy machines, require that other things are put in place before they can move. And those things, he said, were not in place. So hence, the delay in the arrival of the excavator. But eventually, it came and they are ongoing with the process of rescuing these persons believed to be trapped under the rubble. Initially, we were told that between 2 to 3 persons are trapped in there. So far, 1 has been rescued, 2 more persons are in there, believed to be a mother and a baby or a child. So we'll be hoping to get as much information as possible so that we can share with the public as this rescue effort is ongoing. So many officials here, most of them have spoken to us already. I'll try and get a few thoughts as to how this process is ongoing. But we've been joined again by the Member of Parliament. He spoke to us earlier and told us a lot of things, but it's been a few hours since that interview, and I've been joined again by Member of Parliament for Kaikwe South, Ernest Kion Adomako. Honorable, the last time he spoke to me, the excavators were here and working. Since then, we've seen that 1 more person has been retrieved in the ongoing rescue efforts. What else can you report to us or tell us about this process?
Currently, there's nothing to report, but you just said it all. You were here and you saw everything that was happening. So we are told there's 1 woman and a daughter in there. So we are still working.
I also saw that you were very busy helping with coordinating the process, showing officials where they could get what to help with the process. What would you say has been your role since you got here?
Oh, we've done a lot. I mean, trying to fuel the machines and then trying to speak to the rescue team and everything, trying to organize and make sure that we put things in place. And we are still working. So let's talk after.
No problem. Thank you so much for your time. So the Member of Parliament, there clearly you can tell that he looks tired, really. It's really been a long morning for those of us who've been here since about 7 a.m. He himself got here quite early and was reporting and telling us, giving us updates as and when we needed it. Now he tells us that he will be able to give us a fuller picture of the situation as and when they have been informed by the men on the ground helping with the rescue effort. Of course, he also mentioned that as part of his role as Member of Parliament for the area, he's been helping with the coordination efforts. There were times where some of the vehicles on site had to go and refill in terms of fuel. Now, the Member of Parliament was explaining to me that he was instrumental in getting this done. Of course, the Minister for the Interior, Mubarak Muntaka, is here busily observing the process. He's been here since the arrival of the Vice President. The Vice President has left, but he's still here monitoring events as they unfold. Now, Nana Tuffour, if you can see the work ongoing, there's a building that was adjoined to the building that has been demolished. Now, I'm being told by one of the high-ranking Ghana National Fire Service officials that there's going to be a request for demolition of that building because clearly they are unsure of the structural integrity of that particular building. So the building is likely to come down. So we are being told that it was joined to the building that has been demolished. There was a pathway that you could use to access it. And if you can see on your screen, there's even a door and a partly broken walkway, right? Actually a destroyed walkway. Now I've been told that it was possible to access the collapsed building from the building still standing. But that won't happen for long because this particular building would have to come down due to the nature of the rescue efforts ongoing. So Nana Tuffour, it's been a really difficult exercise here at Avenor. Another struggle really was as a result of the rain. It made the work quite difficult for the officials on the ground because they had to work, under very intense conditions. Another struggle really was that when we got here, we could see an electricity transformer right in front of the building. Now, it was very difficult for officials to be able to get inside to where the debris is because of the hindrances that were in their way. And I'm making reference to the electricity transformer as well as other electrical cables. Now, what has happened is that officials from the Electricity Company of Ghana were here, and they disconnected the high tension. In fact, I'm being told, I've been prompted that officials from the ECG are still here working on the wiring or electricity wiring in the area. What we do know is that all of the high tension poles that were connected along the stretch have been disconnected. So there's no electricity in the area, and that was to give access and give room for officials to be able to get in there and do the hard work of evacuating persons believed to be trapped under the rubble. Now, Nana Tuffour, we also know that when incidents of this nature occur, there is a central command post that is created at the accident or disaster scene. Now, when we got here, we didn't see any of that, but I managed to get an interview with Honorable Teddy Adi. Now, he's the deputy NADMO boss, and he said to me that the command post is currently, or at the time, was a makeshift command post, which was directly opposite where I'm standing. Now, where I'm currently standing is right in front of a latex foam shop. Now, under a little shed there, a temporary command post was created. Now, we are being told that officials are trying to get access to Melcom, which is a big shopping center on my right, to be able to get in there and use their facility as a makeshift command post so that they can get in there and draw up strategy and operational, command or operational ways to go about this rescue effort. So a lot has happened really in the past couple of hours. It's been grim really for those who are working, trying to retrieve the persons, for onlookers and other eyewitnesses here, and for people who know the area very well. They tell me that they are not confident of any successful attempt in rescuing these persons alive. The National Fire Service boss, who was heading this operation, tells me that it's a 50-50 chance, and it is very likely that they may be able to rescue some people alive. 2 more persons are feared in there. It could be more, because again, eyewitnesses tell me that the particular building that has collapsed is sort of a haven for some persons who don't have accommodation, who don't have homes. They use the ground floor of this building as a place to try and rest when it's raining or during the evening when they don't have any place to go. So they know of only 2 people who actually stay in there. But for persons who use the place as a temporary place of shelter, it could be more. So Nana Tuffour, what we are seeing right now in your shot are officials from the Ghana National Fire Service. They are putting in place some efforts to try and go inside to ascertain what the problem can be. We've seen them also head to the transformer to make the necessary checks before they get inside. I'll try and get someone from the National Fire Service to explain to us what is actually happening. We've seen that they are trying to get into the Ghana National Fire Service. We are trying to get into the electricity meter, but we are not sure what exactly is happening. So we'll be joined very shortly by a chief fire officer or one of the heads of the fire service. He goes by the name Mr. Osmond Enum. Now let me say that Mr. Osmond, when I got here, was already here. Eyewitnesses say that he's been here since early in the morning, and he'll be sharing with us what exactly is happening as far as their operational strategy is concerned. They've set up behind me and they want to share a few insights into this. Hello, welcome, madam. This is ChannelOne TV.
Thank you.
I've seen that your men have been here since morning. In fact, some of the eyewitnesses tell me that the Ghana National Fire Service were the first people to arrive here, and a lot has happened since then. But currently, we are seeing that your men have lined up and are trying to work on something at the ECG transformer over there. What exactly is happening? Are you able to explain to us?
Yes. We need a vast area to work, but the transformer is actually interrupting the activities of the earth movement machine. So what we are doing now is that we are just trying to cut the stance of the transformer so that we'll look for one of the equipment to lift the transformer from the place so we can get the clear area to work.
So if I get you correctly, this transformer is about to be collapsed to create a bigger working space for your men.
We are not collapsing it. We are lifting it from where it is now to a safe place. And after the operations, UCG looks at how it mounts it back.
Are you able to explain to our viewers, for the purposes of education, the kind of machinery you are using in this exercise?
This is a cutting tool. It is connected with a hydraulic means, but the cables to the hydraulic means are so delicate, so we should ensure that nobody walks over it. And that is why we are putting our men on both sides to check for no movement. And nobody should be within the area of work. And that is what we are trying to do.
How long will this exercise, how long is it expected to go on for?
Oh, I believe it should be less than 15 minutes. They should.
Thank you so much for your time. But finally, before you go, I've seen that you have been very busy today together with your chief fire officer and other officials here. But what can you tell us about the process itself, the main rescue efforts ongoing? One body has been recovered. Are we to expect a lot more bodies still under the rubble?
Well, from the information gathered, when we arrived around 10 past 5, we were told that there were 4 people in there. 2 were able to move out. And out of the 2, 1 had an injury, who was treated by the ambulance service. Then we were informed that there were 2 more people in, 1 female, 1 male. We've been able to rescue the male out, but his condition, it is only the doctor who can declare. We are yet to trace, per the operational plan we took. We are now targeting where the female is so that she would be rescued.
Interesting. We are also told that she has a child in there. Is that a confirmed report?
Currently, we actually spoke with the caretaker of the place and we were told she sleeps there alone. So that information might not be right. Because none of us here lives there. He has been here with the people, and that is the information we've gathered from her so far.
All of this, do we know who owns this building we are referring to?
Currently, as I stand, our aim is to get the rescue done, and I think that will be a latter information to be gathered.
The other concern is that the building right next to the one that has been, or that has collapsed, is a concern for many. Do you have an idea what the next line of action will be in relation to that building?
The Interior Minister has earlier mentioned that that building should be pulled down. But as it stands now, when we try to pull it down, it would actually affect our work in progress, because already there are a lot of load there that needs to be carried out. And I believe that would be done after the victim has been rescued.
Madam, please, my final question, and thank you so much for your patience. When are we to see men actually try get under the rubble? Already we've seen a few of your men walk on there. Currently, there's even a soldier up there as well. But when are we to see men get inside as far as the rescue efforts are concerned?
You seeing them there was for us to map a strategy of how to evacuate the woman that is there. And the debris at its stance should be removed in layers, because if we don't take time, we may also hurt her if she is alive. So that is why that delay, because you need to be strategic to do all those things.
Thank you so much for your time. Your name, please.
I am Deputy Chief Officer Roberta Agriganson, the Director of Operations, Ghana National Fire Service.
Grateful for your time, madam. So, Nana Tuffour Boateng, the exercise I was struggling to explain, we've got some clarity to it now. And it is that the Ghana National Fire Service are trying to remove the electricity transformer you can see in your shot, because we are being told that it is getting in the way of the rescue effort. Now, they are not doing it alone. They are doing it together with officials from the Electricity Company of Ghana, after which the proper assessments will be done, and if it has to be reinstalled, it would be reinstalled. We are being told that the machinery being used in the process is a cutter, basically, and that is to cut some wiring that has this meter fixed in its current place. So that is what is ongoing right now, and the reason for it is that it is to give a broader working area for the rescue effort. Now, Tuffour Boateng, another thing also is that we've received confirmation that the Interior Minister or the Minister for the Interior, Mubarak Muntaka, has raised concerns and to a large extent called for the demolition of this building. But the only reason why it's not been demolished yet is that it may impede the ongoing work to rescue some persons believed to be under the rubble. If they are still alive, it will make it very difficult for officials to get to them. Hence, the reason why it's not been demolished. But the word we have confirmed is that this building would also come down because its structural integrity has been severely compromised in the aftermath of the collapse of this building. Now, I tried to ask the fire officer if they know who the owner of this building is, because in all of what we've been reporting here, the owner hasn't come up, right? And they said that, or she said to me that as first respondents working to fix the situation and rescue lives, they are more interested in making sure that that key objective is achieved before any other matter is looked into. So it's a very, very grim situation over here. It's one of, it's been very difficult, I must say, because we can see that the officials are having a very difficult time trying to clear through the rubble. We are being told that was a 3-story building. We've had conflicting reports on that. We are yet to properly and officially confirm that. We are also being told that a site plan has been
Jude Duncan reporting comprehensively from the site of the building collapse at Avenor in North Kaneshie here in Accra. Rescue efforts still ongoing. We understand there is an ECG transformer that is impeding or obstructing the rescue operations, and so that particular transformer will have to be relocated for the time being as the operations continue. Fred, so we've heard from Jude what the efforts are, where they've gotten to. He's spoken about an adjoining building. I was looking to ask him about, you know, ordinarily when these incidents happen, it's the public or the community people that are most likely to be the first responders. Yes. And sometimes they crowd out the area, making it difficult for professionals to carry out their work. So I was looking to ask him how that was being managed, how they were managing the public or the crowd there.
Sami, from our shots, from the shots coming in from Avenor, you'd realize that you are hardly seeing members of the public close to where this incident is. It looks like the security apparatus have been able to put people away from what is happening. And from what the fire officer explained, that is a really technical job. You need to be going layer by layer. And once you are going layer by layer and you have an ECG transformer there, it becomes more dangerous. So it's very important that the general public who do not have the technical know-how to engage in such things, and who would you said would normally be the first respondents, are asked to step away. And from the shots coming in from there, you would realize that most of the people who are close to where this incident are the security persons and officials. For me, it's unfortunate that we've lost one more person from Jude's report. We found one more person has been found, but unfortunately has passed. It's also some good news that you still found some person, that people are still being rescued. The only concerning issue is that we are unable to tell the number of people in this particular building. Per Jude's narrative, he says that the official people they know who live in the building who are stuck there are 2. But this building also serves as a place where people come to take shelter when there's rain, where people who do not have places to sleep come to take shelter anytime there's rain or feel like they need a place to lay their heads. So as of now, we are not sure of the numbers and how these numbers will play out. The issue of the power, we are told that the entire neighborhood, which is the Avenor area, have been put off because of this substation, which we can see over there. And per the narrative, this substation is impeding the work of the officials. So they are looking forward to removing this particular substation so they could help. It could make it much easier for them to work. I've seen officials of NADMO also present, trying to help in the process. There are officials of the National Ambulance Service, which is also very important in such cases where as soon as you see you're able to retrieve a victim, you just get the person into for treatment. The excavators are currently doing what they are expected to do. This reminds me or draws me back to somewhere 2012, November, when we had that unfortunate Melcom building collapse. You recall that at the time, it was even very difficult to get certain excavators to get the rubble out and rescue people. We had to get help from Israel to be able to do that. Looking at what is happening today, we have seen that the Ghanaian officials themselves have been able to bring these excavators to help in the rescue mission, which is quite good. But then the issue still remains. Which people are in charge of these communities? Which officials? This falls under the AMA, as we are told. Okankwe South. Yes. So it falls under the Okankwe South municipality. Who gave this permit? What has been the inspection, the structural inspection of this building? When you check the Ghana Building Code, which I'll take you through later, and the laws which guides and regulates building in this country, there are so many different phases which officials are supposed to go through before finally even allowing people to occupy the building. Which a lot of the times we do not follow, or we'll go through this process. But before we go through this process, we'll still have to understand the workings of the rescue mission. In time past, you'd hardly get officials speak to you to update you on exactly what is happening. But I think that our officials are learning. They are constantly updating the general public as to where the search has gotten to, where the rescue has gotten to, and we should say kudos to them.
Very well. Let us go to Michael Kosi Dedey. He is an engineer. He joins us via Zoom. Let's pick his thoughts on the building collapse. Engineer, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us. Let me find out from you, how worrying is this? In a space of about 4 days, we've seen 2 buildings collapse here in Accra. How worrying is this?
It is particularly worrying based on the history of these events. Like the gentleman in the studio has mentioned, clearly we've had Melcom collapse many years ago, and many other buildings have collapsed in the past. But it looks like we are not learning any lessons from these building collapses. And that is the sad part of it. Because in all of this, if you were to ask anybody, where is the official report from the Melcom collapse? Very few people can tell you where it is. The truth is that if we truly want to learn from disasters and to prevent them in the future, what we should be doing as a nation is to be sharing these reports. But it looks like whenever these reports are done, even if they are ever done actually, they become like public secrets, or confidential documents that are not shared with the public. If you don't share the reports with the public, how do people learn from the past events? So for me, the worrying part of all this is that we don't seem to learn from the past because the reports are never shared. They are treated as secret documents, which is rather the sad event. Because if you look again, in the past, there have been a lot of market fires. Where are these reports?
Right.
And let me give you an example. If you were to go online today and look for disasters that have happened in other countries, the Fukushima disaster that happened in Japan, the building collapses and the fire incidents in the UK, the bridge collapse in Italy, you will find all these reports online. Because as a safety professional, I look at these things regularly. But if you were to search here in Ghana, you will never find any of our reports. So for me, that is one thing that we need to ensure that whenever accidents like this happen, the reports are made public so that people can learn from it. So for me, that is my very first comment.
Right.
And
please
like
go ahead.
any other thing, okay, you go ahead with your question.
No, I'm asking that you go ahead.
Okay. So again, the next thing is enforcement of rules. We have consistently said over the last 20, 30 years that, look, rules are not being enforced. And yet, those responsible for enforcing rules seem to look on and nobody questions them. This has happened. Everyone has come there sympathizing with the people affected. Excavators are working. Give it a few days and it's all gone. They will tell you, oh, we are preparing reports. We never get to see the report. So it becomes a cyclical thing, always happening, and we don't seem to learn from it. Again, we know that all buildings are supposed to have permits in this country. Do these buildings have permits? And if we are going to do a thorough investigation, who are the people going to be held accountable? Just like in the Malcolm disaster. Because in the Malcolm disaster, I remember this so well because the Ghana Institution of Engineers actually presented a report to the Minister of Works at the time, where we showed all the failings and we made suggestions for improvement. That look, the municipal authorities may not have all the requisite manpower, but under the current law, they are allowed to hire private people to look at some of this in terms of structural work. If they need persons to look at the permits they need to give and check for the structural integrity of documents that have been submitted to them, they can look at it for them. So all they need to do is to ensure that the fees for those private works are incorporated into the permit. But that doesn't seem to happen. So we continuously find buildings collapsing and you go into it and you realize that it's possibly a structural issue. But again, what people also don't know in this country, again, is that whenever you are designing a building, you design the building for a particular purpose.
True.
And that is why the permit is issued. Now, if at any point you need to change the use of that building, you need to go back to the authorities for them to grant you another permit. Because once you change use, especially in a story building, then the load requirements on that building may change. So these are things that, again, the authorities don't seem to be looking at and enforcing themselves. And people do not know, because a lot of people do not know what is in the laws. So until the city authorities themselves seem to be acting more proactively, we will not get good results. These things will keep repeating themselves.
So
again, if you see the response, yes.
So clearly, we haven't been up and doing regarding the enforcement. The other bit of it is accountability, especially after incidents of such nature occur. We don't hold people accountable, so lessons are not learned. There's no public closure on these matters.
Exactly. So let me just cite a recent, and that is why a lot of people went up in arms when recently Professor Costa's report came out, because some professionals had been held responsible. And this was about the first time such a thing has come public. In all of these building collapses, no one is mentioned. The authorities responsible, the municipal assemblies, no one is mentioned. The engineers, the planners, the architects, no name is mentioned. Why is that? And these are the things we need to check. And if none of these professionals are included, then who allowed the building to go up? These are questions we need to ask. But we all hide under the fact that it's a system failure, so nobody should be held accountable. But I said no. When a system collapses, a system is developed by people, maintained by people, and operationalized by people. So at the center of every system are people who can be held accountable. So we shouldn't hide under the guys that, oh, it's a systemic failure, so let us see how we can improve this. Systems are designed by people, they are maintained by people, and they are managed by people. So again, we should be able to hold people accountable. But the practice where we don't hold people accountable is partly also responsible for these things. If you look at the rescue efforts, for a nation that is clearly beset with all these things on an annual basis, in any safety, we as safety professionals, one of the things we say is that in safety management, one of the things you want to do is to prevent events from happening. You don't wait till the disaster happens and then you scramble out there trying to rescue and things like that. No, you plan to prevent things from happening. And the planning to prevent things from happening is to ensure that all these permit requirements and things are done properly. If you spend 70% of your time or more trying to prevent these things from happening, then you hardly encounter such situations where clearly you see the emergency response itself is not the best. So I saw your reporter asking about the control command center. Clearly, we're not prepared for it. Now we are now waiting for Malcolm to say you can come and use our premises. Clearly, these don't look professional enough. So these are the things that we need to. So if we are not ready to spend 70% of our time on the preventive side, then we should be ready for the rescue efforts. And the rescue efforts clearly too, we are showing that we are not ready. And this will then increase insurance costs in the future, because then insurance persons or companies become more skeptical about what is going on within the society, and therefore their premiums are likely to go up. And these are the things that we as a nation need to think through very carefully and ensure that we develop a robust system to protect the public.
Right. There are also instances where the building plans can be properly vetted and approved by local authorities. However, during the construction itself is where people cut corners that lead to some of these disasters. So what should happen after the approval of the permits?
So again, within the law, when I say LI 2465, it clearly states that after a permit has been issued, there are going to be on-site inspections. And when the permit is issued, they tell you when they will come and visit, at every stage when they will come and visit during construction process. This is to allow them to ensure that, one, you are going according to the permit that was granted, because in that permit, even the choice of materials that you are going to use are supposed to be specified and known, especially when it comes to high-rise buildings. So they should be able to come on site and test and ensure that, yes, you are going according to the plan that has been approved. So without these follow-ups, nothing will get done, because, again, people want to cut costs, especially if it's somebody putting up the building for himself. Sometimes they want to cut costs. You remember the incident that happened in Cantonment a few years ago where some doctor also was supervising a building and then he collapsed and killed him. Again, people think that hiring professionals to do jobs are expensive. So instead of hiring the professionals to do the work, they want to do it themselves. They want to cut corners. And sometimes this is where it ends up. So I am saying that again, that the laws are there to guide us at every stage. So we cannot make an excuse to say that, oh, a permit was given, therefore nothing else could be done. No, a permit is given. But during construction phase, the inspectors are supposed to come around regularly and ensure that the conditions for the permit are enforced. And when the building is completed, they are supposed to give you a permit of habitation, which then says that they have gone through the building, they've checked that everything has been done appropriately, and therefore the building is now ready and fit for habitation. So these are all processes enshrined in law. The question then is, if we are going to investigate this structure, we should follow all these requirements and see whether they have been followed through. If they have not been followed through, who are the people supposed to have done this? Have they done? If they haven't done, let us hold them accountable. So the law clearly spells out the people responsible and those that we can hold accountable. So when we come back and say, oh, there's a systemic failure, please, we need to stop making such excuses.
For professionals like yourself, and I'm referring to the Ghana Institution of Engineering, at least regarding the flooding situation, we've seen a statement that has made some recommendations or suggestions. From where you sit, what is the recommendation going forward? Because we've witnessed Newtown, we've witnessed Adenta, now we're at Avenor, all these building collapse. We're always told, as usual, that investigations will go into it. However, we don't get to know of what the reports of these investigations entail. So going forward, what should be done?
First, I think that governments, if they are sincere about preventing such issues, must release all previous results, reports of investigations. Let us know what were the findings and let us probe them. Then going forward, let us enforce laws rigidly. Look, today we are still talking about flooding. Yesterday, I drove past the Sakumono Ramsar site. We have created a rubbish heap there. And you know what is happening? We are filling that reservoir with rubbish. No one can tell me that they can't see what is happening. No city authority can tell me they don't see what is happening. We are filling that reservoir with rubbish. And what is the purpose of it? Simply to reclaim land. Because once that is filled, somebody is going to come and pour laterite over it, and the next moment, the land somebody is putting up a building on it. These are the things that we are aware of and we are not enforcing. Now, if that reservoir becomes so tight that runoff water cannot quickly go into the sea, it is going to impinge on the railway line next to it and then the road. And we are sitting down and looking at it. So for me, if we are sincere about flood prevention and building collapses, the city authorities must set up. We cannot have this random display of pulling down a few buildings and then walk away and wait for the next year to come. You see, flood management or prevention is not a cyclical event. It is a continuous process about how we manage our spaces. When we are granting permits, and that is why permits are required in the first place, it's about how to manage the space. And the rules are there as to what you can put up within that space and what you cannot put up. The rezoning and continuous rezoning of spaces is also not helping. The continuous splitting of districts into several districts is also not helping, because it does not allow for long-term management and management of the spaces that you have given to a particular district. So the politicians must be aware of the implications of the decisions that they are making on a regular basis, purposely to get votes. I mean, how do you continue to divide the same space into several bits, which are completely uneconomical and unmanageable? And who benefits from that? The political class, because then they can appoint more people to fill these positions of MCs and DCs. And for me, this is worrying. So we need to stop these things and understand the implications of policy decisions that we are making. We need to stop it.
Engineer, you mentioned altering the intended purpose of a structure for which permit was approved. I also want to find out, how important is soil testing when we want to go into construction?
Okay. So, you see, like everything, if your foundation does not set properly, your building will collapse. That's the basis of geotech analysis. So, especially for story buildings, if you are going to put up a story building, depending upon the height to which you want to go, that will determine the load that is going to be imposed on the soil. So that is why you need a geotech person to come and do soil analysis based on the proposed architectural drawing, that this is what we want to put up. Then the person will determine how deep your foundation will go and how you need to treat the foundation before you can start putting up that building, to ensure that the building is firm and stable when you start going up. Now, again, when you decide that you're putting up a 10-story building, some people do this. That's the building, that the 10-story building is the one that has been approved. Then suddenly they start building and then they say, oh, but if I'm able to add 4 more stories, I'll make more money. Then before you know, they are putting up 14 stories instead of the 10-story that has been approved. Now, if the inspectors are not going on site regularly to check this is what happens. So that is why there's the allowance for continuous monitoring until the building is complete. So yes, geotech analysis is very, very important. Especially, it will determine the soil type, the load-bearing capacity, and how deep your foundation has to go, and possibly how you need to modify your foundation to ensure that it can withstand the load that you are putting on it.
We're speaking with Engineer Michael Kosi Dedey on the collapse of a building, a 3-story building still under construction at Avenor in North Kaneshie here in Accra. This building, we understand, is within the area of the Ashfoam showroom and Malcolm Plus. Unfortunately, 2 persons have been confirmed dead, 1 victim rescued alive. Let's go back to engineer and then find out, in the absence of enforcement and or if all the enforcement, if all the rules are followed or complied with, these collapse of buildings in the capital, are we able to establish a trend and attribute it to, say, natural causes or otherwise?
You see, Accra, most parts of Accra is an earthquake zone. But in the last few years, at least, we haven't had any earthquake. Now, if I remember right from the Malcolm disaster, one of the things we found, because we sent our engineers there, the Ghana Institute of Engineering sent engineers there to do some analysis. The conclusion was that it was a pancake collapse. And when you talk about a pancake collapse, it simply means that your columns were unable to support the various levels, and therefore it simply collapsed on each other. When they tested the quality of the material in terms of the concrete material, it was bad. The iron rods were insufficient, their sizes were not right, and the quantities were not right. So these go down to the question of who approved the permit. If a permit wasn't approved, who allowed the construction to go on? Who have we held accountable? So we need to enforce the law. If we don't enforce, there's nothing like a natural disaster. These are man-made disasters. These are man-made disasters. So for now, clearly in some of the things that we have seen, it isn't a natural disaster, it's a man-made disaster because people have simply refused to follow the required rules.
But do our local authorities, do they have the capacity to do these stage-by-stage checks during construction?
Yeah, so like I said, during this Malcolm disaster specifically, we realized that they didn't have the full capacity. So we recommended that there's a way they can go around this, where every specific municipality can decide that we will contract a number of consultants within the community whenever we need to approve permits for such buildings, and assign the responsibility for checking the structural drawing and possibly even ensuring that the buildings are properly constructed all the way to finish to this consultant. If we do that, then the granting of permits, the fees for the consultants is charged as part of the permit fees and given to this consultant. But so far, we haven't seen the municipals interested in following that recommendation, because unfortunately, the municipal assembly hasn't got the capacity and possibly may not even have the funds to continuously pay these people on a salary basis. So as and when you need to put such buildings come up for approval, you have these consultants at your disposal. You can hire them and say, look, supervise this for us and for this fee, and then it goes on. And these are things that, again, for people who understand how a district should be managed, it should be a no-brainer. But again, we dish out district chief executives as favors to political cronies who may have no understanding of what it requires to manage a district. So they simply go and sit in there and see permit granting as a means of generating revenue and nothing else. So they sit in there, the chief executive chairs the permit granting committee, they grant the permits and he says, oh, another 1,000 has come in, another 20,000 has come in. And they're happy without the follow-through requirements. So for me, this is where we need to look at it. As to whether the municipals have the capacity, they have to determine that for themselves. If they don't have the capacity, they should be looking out and say, how do we ensure that things are done properly? That is why a chief executive is appointed. And these are the things they need to do.
Right. Sometimes we see some of these structural failings manifest as cracks, but we tend to ignore that. Oh, it's just a small crack, so we tend to ignore. Is there a process or something like an avenue or a requirement for buildings to be tested even after they have been constructed? And is there like a period within which we need to go back and test the integrity of buildings?
I don't recall if there's any laid down rule at the moment for regular structural integrity checks. But now that you mention it, I remember that in the case of the Malcolm one, some of the reports that came out after the building were that people had noticed cracks on the building. Now, if you're a building owner and somebody tells you, I've seen cracks on the building, what do? You request for a structural integrity test. And these are things that can be done easily. But people don't seem to care because for them, it's about making money. So even though there is no, I don't recall, it's possible it's there, for regular structural integrity tests, it is important that when people see things going wrong, they do not sit back and think that, oh, it's nothing, it's a minor thing. Once you see a crack, especially in your columns or beams, then to quickly take this up and get professionals to look at it for you. And they will be able to test it easily for you. And if they need to reinforce that column or beam for you, for the building to continue to stand, they will be able to do that and give you recommendations to that effect.
We sometimes tend to do, you know, I know a guy type of thing instead of going in for professionals during construction. So for professionals, what is the concern within that space? That people do not patronize your service, but rather go for, I know a guy, or I have a cousin here, I have a friend here who can do the work.
Yeah, I mean, that happens. Again, I say, the bottom line again is people's money. People look at us, hey, I have only this budget to put up there. So, and if I go to this professional, he may charge me so much. It begins with architects. People want to dodge architects because look, they say if I go to an architect, he's going to ask for so much. Then the next thing is, hey, if I go for an engineer, he's also going to ask for this. If I go to let me say, any other professional in the built environment, this, whatever. So, but the basic thing comes back to those responsible for spatial development controlling, and that is the district assemblies. So if you look in the law, for instance, it says that the structural drawings that have to be brought to the assembly must be approved by a professional with their stamp. The structural drawing must be approved. It cannot just be anybody. So again, the question comes back to the district assemblies. When the person brought that plan for approval, they did have a professional stamp. And that is why I say that anybody involved in that drill can be held accountable. If he had a professional stamp on it, that person exists. And that person can be called to order. So these are the things that need to be done. So this, I know a guy, you can use it for ground houses, simple structure. But once you begin to go up, you need professionals. You cannot do away with professionals. You need them. You need the architect. You need the structural guy. You need the geotech person to do your ground testing for you. So please, people need to respect people's professions. And again, what I see happening again is that these buildings that go up, again, it's in clear view of everybody, but everybody walks by. Then suddenly we are saying that the building next to this collapsed one should be pulled down. On what basis are we saying it should be pulled down? It can't just be based on emotions. We should say, let us do a structural integrity test on this building. Is this fit to continue standing? You see, when we don't approach things scientifically, we end up with a lot of emotions. What is wrong with the next building? I don't know. I don't want to speculate. But until there's comprehensive report on it, we shouldn't just act emotionally and say, oh, let's pull down the next building because it is not competent. On what basis are we making that assertion?
Engineer, thank you so much. We'll come back to you, but we want to go back to the site live. We understand the Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Yohunu, is on site. Let's bring you pictures from there, possibly speak to him on what his men have been doing on the ground and what the assessment report he has received yet is. But let's speak to Jude Duncan. Jude, thank you so much. The IGP is on the ground. Has he engaged the media yet?
The IGP has engaged the media by here together with other high-ranking police officials to ascertain for himself the extent of damage and the rescue efforts ongoing. We've also seen Madam Juliana, who is with the police service, also here. Now, what we can tell you is that
engage the media, but he's here together with other high-ranking police officials to ascertain for himself the extent of damage and the rescue efforts ongoing. We've also seen Madam Juliana, who is with the police service, also here. Now, Tuffour, what we can tell you is that the IGP, when he got here, came to the Minister for the Interior, Muntaka Mubarak, to get a fair understanding of what is going on here. So as he got here, he hasn't even gone down to meet his men who are helping with rescue efforts. He is currently behind me with the Minister for the Interior, Mubarak Muntaka. Now, Tuffour, we could glean some of the things that were ongoing in that conversation between the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Yohono, and the Minister for the Interior. Clearly, you could hear the minister say that it's very likely, confirmed, that the building right next to the one that has collapsed will come down. He also took time to appreciate the work of the men in uniform, and I'm referring to the police service. They've been here since morning doing a very good job in trying to help with the rescue effort. So basically that has been it with the arrival of the IGP. He adds to the list of high-ranking officials that have been here today. From the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Her Excellency, the Vice President, Professor Jenano Poko-Ajima, was also here earlier, and now we've seen the IGP himself come to also ascertain for himself all that is happening. I tried to move to him for some brief thoughts around the ongoing rescue efforts. Now, he declined to speak to me and said that he would, when they get a clearer sense of what it is that is happening as far as the rescue efforts are concerned. So, Tuffour, that's exactly what's happening right now with the IGP and other high-ranking police officials here trying to do their best as far as rescue efforts are concerned. Tuffour, earlier, before the arrival of the IGP, I made mention of another transformer from the ECG that was here earlier. Now, the Ghana National Fire Service have been successful in removing that transformer to create a bigger working area for the evacuation and excavation work to go on. So it's been dire, really, for those at the forefront working to rescue persons trapped in there. But the good news is that the bosses are here, and when I say the bosses, of course, I'm referring to the IGP and the Sector Minister, the Minister for the Interior, in helping, trying to motivate the boys. The Regional Commander is also here. I've seen him. He's been here for some time now, trying to get a clearer sense of everything that is ongoing. So it is, you know, for the workers here, those on the ground doing it, have been able to get some conversations with some other persons here who have been very instrumental in the work that's ongoing. Some of them have described it as one of the most difficult assignments they've ever had been engaged in. Also, let me quickly add that we've seen the police K9 unit. The dogs were here, specialized trained dogs were here, and they were on the site trying to help with rescue efforts. Now, currently happening is the removal of debris from the site being loaded onto huge trucks so that at least they can get a clearer sense of the remaining space which is being worked on right now. So that is what is ongoing right now. A lot of heavy metals coming in the way, lots of electrical cables, but that has been dealt with, kind courtesy the Electricity Company of Ghana. So now for the update I can tell you right now is that the Inspector General of Police, IGP Christian Tete Yohono, is here together with the Sector Minister, the Minister for Interior. Earlier, we saw the Greater Accra Regional Minister also come here, but she's taking her leave now and are following keenly as the men on the ground try to rescue the situation. Tuffour.
Right. Thank you, Jude. But we see that the debris is being carted away. It's being loaded into a haulage truck to be carted away. How many of such trucks can you count? And I'm asking because then, of course, the more the number, then the faster the operation can be carried out.
So Tuffour, with regards to the trucks you are referring to, which is taking the debris away, I have seen 4 different ones, right? But it'll be very difficult to tell whether they are the same or they are one of many. But there's 2 currently in operation right now, but there are others that have been filled and they've sent the debris away. So it will be difficult to try and give an accurate sense of the number on site. But I've seen about 4 different ones. It could be more, definitely, but not less than the 4, because if there's 2, I've seen 2 different ones also being used. So it could be more than the 4 I've said, but I've seen 4 different ones here, and they are helping with the evacuation that is currently ongoing. The IGP has taken a seat together right next to the Minister for the Interior, and they are assessing the situation as we speak. Hopefully we'll try and get some words with the police who are here, and they'll get to give us a clearer sense of what to expect with this rescue effort as it is ongoing. Nana Tuffour.
Has the road to and from this area, has it been blocked? Has access to this road been blocked? Because we know that the community of members, of course, will be moving in and out of the area.
Yes, so the officials here, they've tried to cordon off the entrance and the exit, you would say. So if those coming from North Industrial Area, you would meet the Melcom Plus. And the difficulty with the decision to cordon off the place is that we do know that it's a high and busy area, even on Sundays, because there are quite a number of eateries there and there are a number of shops. But the blockade is such that those coming with their vehicles will be unable to, for instance, even come to the big Melcom retail shop, which is a few meters from the disaster scene. And at the Avenor side or stretch, if you are coming from Circle, it's been blocked right close to the junction that will take you to Tessanor. So all of those 2 entry and exit points have been blocked. And I can't tell you for a fact that it's creating a very difficult situation for shop owners and other motorists who would ordinarily ply this route. Nana Tuffour, what I can also tell you is that anybody, or especially motorcycle riders who try to navigate, have been fiercely stopped by the police here, because they say here is an incident scene, a disaster scene, and it's important that the highest level of security is maintained. So there's no crisscrossing, there's no movement as far as this main road is concerned. If you want to, for some reason, come to any of the shops on the stretch, you would have to get down from your vehicle and walk to the shop. Some of the shops are open, a few persons are there, but clearly you can tell that the numbers are not the same as you would have usually expected on a Sunday afternoon like this. So the place has been cordoned off by the security officials here, and they tell me that until such a time that the work is properly done and finished with, the road will not be opened back to the public. And they've given alternative routes that have been made available for persons to use in that regard. So that's the latest update as far as the movement to and fro the disaster scene is concerned. And that's for.
Thank you so much, Jude. Jude Duncan reporting from Avenor, where a 3-story building, which of course we're being told is still under construction, has collapsed. 3 persons rescued. Unfortunately, 2 have been confirmed dead. Work is still ongoing as rescue operations led by the Ghana National Fire Service, the National Disaster Management Organization, the Ghana Military, the Army, the Ghana Police Service, the Ghana Ambulance Service, all on standby to contribute to the operation. Let's speak to the president of the Ghana Institution of Engineering, Engineer Ludwig Ananhesi. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Right. As an institution, this must be a matter of concern, especially if we are to add it to the numbers that we've recorded so far, the number of buildings that have collapsed, especially in Accra so far. How concerned is this?
Oh, it's very concerning. It should be concerning for everybody, not just for engineers, but for all Ghanaians. And we are very sorry to the families that have lost loved ones. The issue is that recently the one that collapsed in Medina, we sent some teams to do some preliminary investigation together with the architects and the other engineering groups. And the story is the same. It's been the same from what we knew from previous collapse. The buildings are being constructed without permits. Buildings are being constructed without architectural drawings. Buildings are being constructed without structural designs and drawings. Buildings are being constructed without approval from the assembly, without permit from the assembly. Buildings are being constructed without supervision from the assemblies. Buildings are being constructed without the involvement of professionals, architects, engineers. And this is the storyline throughout. And if we continue to live our life this way, then the results are what we are seeing.
Clearly, that's a danger or a disaster waiting to happen if we should continue with that part. But what would be your recommendation or suggestion going forward?
The assembly should work. The assemblies are the planning authorities. They are the approval authorities. They are expected to have power and use the power to work. The demolition in the collapse that occurred in Medina. The assembly issued stop work twice, yet they looked on, and the building was constructed. People were living in it, and they were continuing to add levels to it. So the assemblies must work, and when they write stop work, it must mean stop work. It must not mean that you can continue. Maybe stop work, and they must make sure this happens. If this simple thing does not happen, then everything we do is useless. The assemblies must work. It's as simple as that.
And for professionals in the built environment, what would be the caution to them?
The assemblies must work. They must ensure that every single structure that comes out up in the city or in their jurisdiction has been properly designed, and the proper certification by certified architects, certified engineers have been received, and then has received the approval. During construction, they should also ensure that there are qualified people in there to supervise the work that is being done. And if we cannot make sure about these things, people will always cut short corners. They will avoid employing a professional to help them to design. They will avoid employing professionals to help them to supervise the work that was done. We are having story buildings built with columns without foundations. We are having columns built with substandard iron rods. We are having buildings constructed with substandard concrete. The way it is mixed, the way it is placed, and the way it is cured, it's all wrong. And when you walk around, you see this commonly. And the assembly that is close with authority to make sure that these things are done properly is doing nothing. They must sit up and work. And where they need professional assistance, they must ask for the professional assistance so that they can be given, so that the work can be done. Look, we have enough engineers and architects in Accra here. And if the assembly wants to utilize them to make sure that what is going on around, we have a good record of it, and there are eyes on these things, this can be done. It's possible. But the assemblies must take the initiative. They must make sure that the building code and their authority to give approval for construction is happening. If they don't do that, these things will recur.
The matter of altering the intended purpose of a building is also, if like, top on the table. We see buildings that are put up before you know other levels are added to it. Give us an idea of the imbalance this creates and how that affects the integrity of the structure.
Yes, when buildings are being designed, for instance, if you give a building for an architect to design it for a purpose. Now, when it gets to a structural engineer to do the structures, the things that make the building stand, they use the purpose to decide what sort of loading they design for. So if you are changing the use, and the use is going for, you are going for uses that have higher live loadings, then you are subjecting the building to danger, risk. And if you are adding more floors, for one floor count, for one floor count, that attitude is wrong, because what is below, if it's not been designed to carry the load on top of it, then we're also putting ourselves in trouble. We know this, the engineers know this, and if you want to change the use, there are procedures that you follow through to change the use of a building. And there are, we can do structural integrity analysis and test to see if the new intended use can accommodate, the structure that is existing can accommodate the new intended use. If it can't, and there's need for retrofitting, that can also be recommended and designed. So all things are possible. We can change the use of a building, but we have to do it properly. The assembly has to approve, and you have to get the right advice from the tanker people to ensure that the new use is compatible with the structure.
Are you able to give us an idea of, if you like, an assessment of buildings in Accra, especially when you drive by, we see construction all over. I know, well, you can't just judge by looking, but as a professional, you can give us an idea of what it looks like regarding buildings in Accra.
Look, when you drive by and anybody is building, and normally we use concrete in this country, just look at the way that they are mixing the concrete. Normally they are mixing the concrete on the ground, which is not the most appropriate way to mix concrete, especially if you are going to put it in structural parts like columns or beams or in slabs. Well, let's say you can even mix that properly. Are they using the right combination of sand, stones, and cement? And the worst enemy to concrete is water, which makes concrete strong, gives it concrete its strength. But if you put too much water in concrete, it weakens the concrete. It doesn't make it strong anymore. So if you see anybody mixing concrete and you see the concrete flowing, that when they put it on the ground, it flows. It doesn't sit, but it's flowing. Then you know that it's danger. That means they are putting too much water there. The concrete is flowing. The concrete, when it is mixed with adequate amount of water, when you scoop it and put it down, it should stand like a cone for you. When you see concrete that when it's scooped and put down, it flows, then obviously you know that whatever is being used for is in danger. The concrete there's too much water to start with, and that's a problem. If you see somebody building and it's not using a poker, a vibrator, to make sure that it's vibrating the concrete properly, so that the concrete will have the right density, you should know that there's a problem. And I'm sure you drive around, you walk around a lot, and you see that there are a lot of construction going on. And this simple observation will tell you that whatever is being constructed is, we have challenges with it.
But most of these buildings that have collapsed in recent times are either still under construction or are, if like, fairly new projects that have come up. Is there a comparison between materials of old, professionals of old, vis-a-vis what we are seeing now?
You know, the materials, if anything at all, the materials are getting better. In terms of the type of cement, we are getting better. The steel, the research is always improving. So the quality of material is, and there are so many alternatives for doing these things now. And then there's quality material. But if you choose not to use the quality material, or to use the right specification of the material to work, and also your workmanship is wrong, there's no proper supervision for the work, so that we know that if you've used good cement, you've used good stones, you've used good sand, but you don't mix it well, you add too much water, and you don't vibrate it, and you put it there, if you go and test it, it will not meet the strength that you want the concrete to achieve. And then so it's bad. So it's the workmanship. Our workmen today, there are a lot of people who have not been certified, and they are working as masons, they are working as steel benders, they are working as other things, and they are in the system. And even if they know how to do the basics, they have to do this under supervision. I've gone to building sites, and for instance, you see masons mixing mortar or mixing concrete, and they mix so much that the concrete or the mortar sits there for like 1 hour, 2 hours. The concrete is already started losing its strength, because the strength that is gained in that few hours, you are going to take it apart. And so if I'm an engineer on site, I'll not allow anybody to mix concrete to last more than 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, it should be used. Or when they are transporting the concrete and things in trucks, they put what we call retarders. They put some chemicals in to retard the chemical action of the cement so that it can travel for a long time before it is laid. But the ordinary Joe you see by the roadside mixing concrete does not use retarders. So in school, we are taught that after 40 minutes, cement has had its first set, or after adding water to cement. And when you break it, it cannot regain that strength again. So you have to mix and place it before 40 minutes. That's what the textbook says. Normally on the field, you say, let's work with 30 minutes so that we have a certain degree of safety. But a lot of the times, you see these things happening and nobody is paying attention to these things because there are no trained people on the site to make sure that these quality standards are met. So there's so much wrong with the way we do business. And the people who have been close with authority to make sure that this does not happen are not doing it. And these are the assemblies. Either they don't have enough competent people to get the job done, or and if they don't have, there are so many people in the private sector who can help. And if you're a developer, you're supposed to pay for these services. So it's not the assembly who has to pay. It's the developer who has to pay because it's part of the services it needs to make sure that it has a building which stands. But somebody should make sure that that is happening. And assemblies are not doing this. They are not, unfortunately. And especially when you say these buildings that are collapsing are new buildings that are under construction. Then what are we talking about?
Right.
That means we are not doing our work well today. If let's say if the building was built 20 years, 30 years ago, and it collapses, you cannot blame today's people. But if it's happening today, then we are alive, and we are seeing this life.
True. Engineer, I know the institution does its own investigation into some of these incidents. What do you do with the report of your investigations?
We give it to the same government. We give it to the assembly. We give it to the Ministry of Works and Housing. We give it to Engineering Council. We give it to the officials. And what they do with it, I don't know. Whether anybody is held culpable. Like the collapse in, there's a report. I just traveled out of the country. I'm speaking outside Ghana now. But there's a report that followed me. I just saw it this morning on the Medina building. And really, everything that should be wrong is wrong. The owner didn't have a drawings. No architect was involved. No engineer was involved. Assembly was not involved. Nothing was involved. He was giving stop orders. He continued to work. He constructed wrongly, and the building is sitting there. We know who owns this building. Would that person go to prison?
So clearly, there's a lack of
Would that
enforcement.
person go to prison? The person who broke every rule and put up a structure that collapsed and killed people, or and kill people. Would that person still sit and dine with us the way we are doing today? And that's the issue of culpability. Are we holding people responsible? And who sat for all these years when that building was there, and now the people were living in it and they were putting more on top of it? And the assembly, who has issued stop work twice, and they were still watching on, and this guy was still working, and they did nothing. The people who are responsible, are we going to still watch them and see them sitting and still be working for us? Are we going to do something about these things? For me, these are the critical questions that we need to ask ourselves.
So you think the lack of enforcement is also a contributing factor?
Lack of enforcement and lack of holding people responsible, accountability. These are the key things.
Are you consulted as an institution when, if like the government or the assemblies are doing their own investigations aside of yours? Do they consult you?
Well, I don't remember that any assembly has asked us to do any investigations, but we've done quite a number of it. And I'm giving you the example of Mandina, which happened about a week or two ago. Already, we have a report ready, a preliminary report ready. What happened in Newtown? I was there personally with our team. We took samples. We have a report there. So these reports are made available, and what I'm telling you now, I'm telling you from what these reports tell us. And this information is available to the authorities. We don't have any authority. We can sanction the authorities. We can sanction the developers. So the question is that we are just engineers who have come together who are interested in excellence in the way engineering is undertaken. And that's what we want to see out there. But there are people who have been close with authority. We go to elections, we elect political leaders, we put them in charge, we elect assemblymen, we elect presiding members, the president appoints chief executives, and they appoint officers that they work with in assemblies. And they must be held responsible. They must be held accountable. And they must also be holding other people accountable to make sure that we do things well, and we do them right, and we do them at the right time.
For those who cut corners and do the I know a guy type of thing, they say they don't have money to pay for the professional service. They say your members are too expensive.
Then they shouldn't construct.
They shouldn't construct if they don't have money.
Yeah, they shouldn't construct. Why do you construct if you don't have money? You have money to buy cement, you have money to buy stones, you have money to go and buy land, but you don't have money to get somebody to do a good design for you for construction. Compare the cost of constructing a building and how much you will pay an engineer or an architect. The total cost from design to supervision to get a job done, it's less than 5 or 6% of the total cost of a construction project. And then you can do the 94 and you cannot do the 6. Is that what they are saying?
Engineer, thank you so much for speaking to us. Well, we're grateful to you for your time this afternoon. Engineer Ludwig Hesse is the president of the Ghana Institution of Engineering, speaking to us regarding this building collapse at Avenor in North Kaneshie. Rescue operations are still ongoing. We are hoping to have good news when the operation is concluded. We understand the Inspector General of Police has joined the Minister for the Interior, Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak, on site. We're also hoping that they will be addressing the press or giving us some updates or briefing regarding the process of rescue, and then we'll get to know what stage they are now. But as it stands, 3 persons have been rescued, 2 unfortunately confirmed dead. I am Tuffour Boateng. I'm still in studio with Fred, Tete, Djabanor. Jude Duncan is on the grounds, and he will be joining us as and when he has some updates for us. Fred, so clearly from what we've heard from both engineers who have spoken to us, there is a lack of compliance with the regulations.
Exactly, a lack of compliance. And I'm going to take you through the regulations. So when we look at the regulations, our building regulations are governed by the Ghana Building Code and the National Building Regulations of 1996. When you look at these regulations, it gives you how and what you need to do before you even decide to construct and when you are done with construction. So let me take you to the permits you need. So before you even start or you start building and start work on your plot, there are certain permits you need. First, the drawings from the architect. You have to get structural drawings, site plan showing boundaries and setbacks, proof of land ownerships or authority to build, soil investigation report, environmental approvals for certain projects, and completed permit application forms. After that, you go to the assembly. And when you get to the assembly would have to ask you for your fiscal planning department, the fiscal planning department.
Fred, hold. Okay, we'll be going back to the site pretty shortly. We'll be going there pretty shortly. We understand there's some activity ongoing at the site. We'll be bringing viewers live pictures from there. But let's read out what the building code says so we can all have a clear understanding of what is required when we want to go into construction.
So, like I mentioned, when you present all those things I've mentioned, now this will be circulated to the fiscal planning department of the assemblies, then the works departments of the assemblies, then the environmental health unit of the assemblies, including the fire service. After that, then you start your building. So all these things will be provided. The assemblies will go through it. When they are satisfied with it, then you go ahead. So when you are building without permit, there are issues. The assembly has the power to issue you a stop work notice. It can come and seal the construction site. It can demolish unauthorized structures, prosecute offenders, and impose penalties and surcharges.
All this is during the construction stage.
All this is, so the first part is during the construction stage. When you fail to follow all these things and you start construction, the next part is that the assembly can come and issue the stop work.
Right.
It can come and seal the construction site. It can come and demolish your structure you have started building. Then prosecute you, the person who is building without the permit. Then also impose penalties on the people who are building.
Right.
After that, there are inspections requirements. So this is even during the building process. There are inspection requirements. So the first requirement is a site inspection. This is conducted for approval to verify the land ownership documentation, plot dimensions, compliance with zoning requirements, building setbacks, and drainage conditions. Then there's the foundation inspection. The foundation inspection is carried out after excavation and before concrete is poured.
Right.
So once you excavate, before you even pour concrete into your foundation, there's supposed to be the foundation inspection. And this is what the inspectors would verify. Foundation depth, then soil conditions, reinforcement details, and conformity with structural drawings.
Right, right. So these are all what is expected per the rules as captured in the building code. And then it's important that we comply with these things, else we'll be seeing some of these incidents from time and time and again. We want to play back what the Vice President said when she visited the site early today.
Colleagues and friends, let me say good morning to everyone. Yes, early in the morning we heard of the disaster and we planned to come and see for ourselves. But we also knew that our rescue agencies were going to be up to the task. I want to thank all of them, the fire service, the police, the political appointments, appointed, what else? NADMO, everybody, and the neighbors also, ordinary people, all of us who are interested in preserving life. We want to thank all of you for being here. This is not the sort of thing we want to wake up and see or even hear.
Her Excellency Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman speaking from the site earlier on today. Let's go live to the site. We understand the Minister for the Interior, Mohammed Mubarak Muntaka, is addressing the media.
And the rescue team will be doing so that we'll be able to tell public what exactly happened and what went wrong. How do we prevent this from happening? Like the Vice President rightly mentioned. So we want to thank all of you for your time and the cooperation. Thank you so much.
Honorable Minister, do you know the owner of the building? The owner of the building that has led to this collapse?
We've heard names have been mentioned, but obviously when the investigation will ascertain truly whose building it is and which permit he got and all that. So I'm sure when the investigation is set up, all these things will come up.
Also issues around Clagon. Has that come to your notice? The Clagon disaster, flooding incident, I beg your pardon. Has that come to your notice?
Well, I mean, so many things have been reported, but it's like you have too many emergencies and you are picking and choosing which one is most urgent. The one that has life trapped under, you should definitely prioritize that. But I mean, a lot of flooding, we've heard around Sakumono and all that, there's a lot of flooding. But our men and women are up in doing, the police are there, the NADMO is there, all of them are doing the best that they can to rescue as much as possible.
Minister, this comes 4 days after Adenta, barely 1 month after Accra New Town. All of these lives are involved. Can we comfortably say that state agencies are not up and going?
Well, you know, in terms of building permits, is the disassembly. That's why I was calling on the local government ministry and the disassembly to rise up to the occasion. Because you cannot come, let's say, from the Ghana police to determine whether a building should be put at a place or not. You can't come as fire service to determine whether someone should build or not. You can come in, fire service will come in for the fire safety, but the permit to build always comes from the assembly. So we want the assemblies and their engineers to be up and doing so that we can support them to make sure that we have a very safe environment. Without them, they have the mandate to carry it. You cannot cross your mandate and go into other people's mandate and now go and say that maybe, for example, police will now determine who will build and who will not build. That will be infringing on even the laws of our country. So that this assembly should be up and doing. And I hope my colleague, the local government minister, will rise to the occasion by talking to the MMDCs for them to sit up and make sure that those that do not have authorization and their building will be stopped. Those who have, they will go according to the specification that was approved and not to be doing anything rather than what is approved. Thank you. Thank you.
So you just heard that the Minister for the Interior, Mubarak Muntaka Mohammed, giving us updates as far as this is concerned. Now he's clear in the start. He's saying to me that
we are going to set up the committee. It will be very unfortunate for me to now stand here and tell you that tomorrow the report will be out. When you set up a committee, you may give them a mandate. And now, I mean, like the in we say, today is a Sunday. We are here. But the one will say that.
What happened after
yes.
the report has been presented?
No, I mean, like fire service is here, the Ghana police, IGP is here. I believe that we'll be very swift as much as possible so that at least we can prevent this thing from reoccurring. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. So you just heard that the Minister for the Interior, Mubarak Muntaka Mohammed, explaining to us, according to him, there's so much happening at the same time. While we are here, as we speak right now, the minister is clear in his thoughts. Hopefully we'll try and see if we can sneak in one last question, but he's on his way out, and that will be very difficult to do at this moment. But he's been clear. He said that they are leaving here right now because they have to report to other incident scenes. He made mention of Sakumono, where there's a situation right now. He also mentioned Achimota. We are not clear exactly what the situation is, but he said that officials are here, high-ranking officials from the various state agencies who will be overseeing this particular incident. Now, he also called on the assembly to be up and doing. In fact, he mentioned the Greater Accra Regional Minister and called on her to come up to task as far as dealing with issues around building permits in the various assemblies are concerned. Now, according to the minister, even though eyewitness report accounts that 2 more persons may be in there, it is unverifiable information, and they are still going ahead with the rescue effort. And as and when they are able to make any headway, they will come back to the media and report on it. The minister also, in his address, called on the public to abide by the rule, reiterating an earlier comment made by the vice president when she got here earlier in the day to assess the extent of damage. Now, listening to the minister, he also raised serious concerns around the use of building materials in this particular building project. If you listen to him carefully, he's particularly mentioned the iron rods that we can see in display. Now, we are being told that the owner of this particular building, we are not really sure of, but law enforcement would get to the end of this and make sure that those who are or have a role to play in this are punished or made to face the full rigor of the law. So those are the words of the Interior Minister. He was really emphatic on his pledge to ensure that indeed those who are culpable in this process we've seen or in this building collapse are made to face the full rigor of the law. So that is the update as far as this is concerned. There's so much happening here. We've also seen that the IGP is still here. The Deputy National Security Coordinator, Elizabeth Yanka, I believe is also here, and she is getting some briefing as far as the process is concerned. Now, what we can tell you is that the shop before the collapse, or the building before the collapse, had some shops underneath, and the name of the shop was Cutest Trends. And we get this information due to some photos we've seen circulating on social media and some other persons who live by and have confirmed for us. Now, what we are being told is that a woman usually sleeps in there, although we've not been able to confirm that now. And according to the minister, even though it is believed to be true, it is still unverified report. And as and when they are able to confirm that, they would let us know, and I'm referring to those of us in the media and the general public at large. So Nana Tuffour Boateng, this is the latest updates as far as this is concerned. The minister is calling for cool heads. I think the biggest takeaway from his comment is that those culpable will face the full rigor of the law. Citizens must comply with all the requisite processes as far as building is concerned. And he also talks about the fact that it's important for all of us to wait for the investigations to be conducted before we are able to understand the full extent of what is going on. So this is ChannelOne TV's live coverage of the building collapse that has taken place at Avenor. Earlier reports suggested that this collapse took place at around 6 or a few minutes after 6 a.m. According to the briefing from the Minister of the Interior, according to briefing from the Minister for Interior, we are being told that the collapse actually took place at around some few minutes past 5 a.m. Right? So the latest update is that this didn't happen at 6 a.m. It took place 7 minutes after 5 a.m. Now, according to the minister again, by 5:15 a.m., the fire service got onto the scene and began with the rescue efforts for the operation. So 5:07 a.m., reports coming on the building collapse. 5:15, National Fire Service officials get in here together with the ambulance service. And at 5:56, that was, oh sorry, I beg your pardon, 9:56, that was when we saw multiple excavators come in place. The first excavator came in somewhere around 8 a.m. That means that a solid 3 hours after the incident took place, the first excavator hadn't arrived. And according to many at the time, that was a problem that had to be dealt with. In fact, that was a question I wanted to pose to the Interior Minister, but we didn't get a chance to ask him that. Concerns around the delay in the arrival of the excavator that was used in the process. So this is the update as far as the building collapse exercise is concerned. And we are getting reports that a lot more officials are expected to be here. Earlier, the Member of Parliament for the area, Ernest Kion Adomako, was here. For those who are just joining our live coverage, Avenor is a district, one of the 8 electoral areas in the Okaikwe South constituency. Now, the Okaikwe South themselves are a sub-metro on their own, so they have a DCE, and one of the electoral areas within the area or within the constituency is Avenor, and that is where this has taken place. For those who know the area, it is very close to the Melcom shop, which is exactly on my left. And for those coming from Circle and Djabanor, you would use my right, who takes you to North Industrial Area, Fan Milk, Djabanor, and the Kwame Nkrumah Circle interchange. So this our coverage. So far, we've heard from the Greater Accra Regional Minister. When she spoke to us very early in the day, she was upset with the delay in the arrival of the excavators. At the time we were speaking to her, we saw the excavators come inside. We've spoken to the Member of Parliament for the area, who also raised concerns around the information, the level of information we've received in this ongoing rescue effort. We'd heard from the Deputy NADMO boss, Dedey, who also mentioned to us that they were engaged in different kinds of operations, made mention of the fact that a command post had been formed and all of that. And now we've heard from the Minister of the Interior, Mubarak Muntaka Mohammed, who has explained to us the different things happening here and the latest updates that we have. 3 rescued, 1 survived, two unfortunate deaths, and we are still waiting to see what the final outcome of this will be. But it's fair to also say that some extensive level of work has taken place already. The excavator has dug very deep right now, and they are trying to still clear the debris as much as possible. Before they could dig that deep, they had to get rid of an ECG transformer that was in their way. The Ghana National Fire Service, together with officials from the Electricity Company of Ghana, came to help in that particular exercise. So from Avenor, this is the latest update as far as rescue efforts are concerned. Also, the minister made reference, or there was a question posed to him about whether security agencies are up to the task, and also the assembly in dealing with what is feared to become a trend as far as building collapse incidents are concerned. There was Adenta not too long ago. There was Accra New Town, which also happened on a Sunday like this, where 3 people died and many other people were injured. Now, according to the minister, the various agencies have what it takes to deal with the matter. So we'll be following the issues very keenly. We'll be updating you by the second as this matter unfolds. But for many other people, if it's indeed confirmed that 2 other people are in there, every second matters now, every minute matters now, and it's important that we are able to get to them to deal and rescue them from the rubble and the debris that is currently over them. So these are the latest updates so far.
Thank you so much. Jude Duncan coming to us live from Avenor, where the rescue operation continues. Search and rescue operation at a building collapse site. This is in North Kaneshie, and Jude has given us a description of the area. Earlier, you heard from the Minister for the Interior, Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak. Let's now speak to the Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety, Dr. Yaw Akwadaa. Doc, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Apologies. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Great. Doc, public safety again, building collapse again. Are we not learning any lessons?
Well, my straight answer to you will be, are we? Are we? Because we have seen these building collapses, over the years, right? Commercial properties to private properties to, social, all kinds of properties are collapsing on innocent Ghanaians and, people losing their lives. But as a country, consistently, we have failed to learn from such incidents, something that in all civilized jurisdictions, it is done, okay? What we, these are not matters of lack of laws. Ghana has a robust building regulation, very robust one. I think is one of the best in the sub-region. But we do not enforce these, okay? We have seen, major collapses where our resources were stretched. We had to rely on external sources to resolve, some of these or bring things to normalcy. And we have still failed to learn from this. We are still allowing ourselves to be, build first and approve later. People are building and getting approvals later. We are largely engaging unqualified contractors, building engineers to supervise sometimes very, very, mass building, mass structures. And so until we take hold of the bull by the horn and get enforcement to the ground, these stories will be recurring like all public safety issues. If you don't go to the root and resolve it, it will only recur. And so we want to pray for the dead, if indeed people have lost their lives in this, and call on, the city authorities, call on governments to ensure that the various municipal district and metro assemblies, rise up to the occasion and do their jobs. We do not have to let people build. We do not have to corrupt the system in such a manner that people think it is okay to build before you get approval. There's a reason why the system has been arranged that you must get approvals before you start building. We must do that. And we should also sanitize that designer, realm. We must sanitize that designer realm. There are people, a lot of people engaging in building, engaging in electrical work, engaging in plumbing activities with zero qualifications. Okay. And most of these people are engaged because they are cheap. And if they are cheap, then they will endanger the lives of other people. Assuming I was a qualified mason, engaged to perform work in this place. And whoever the structural engineer was, whoever the architect was not qualified. It puts me in danger, assuming I'm there as a tiler. And then whoever did the mason work, whoever, put down the drawing is unqualified. Me as a poor tiler, going to look for my daily bread, I'm in danger because the state has failed to enforce, the robust laws, the robust regulations that we already have in place.
Doc, let's take the various actors one after the other, because I believe they all have a role to play. So for the developer, what should be the caution to developers out there?
Well, the developer usually is the one who has to do all the paperwork with the district assembly or the local authority. Most developers get frustrated because they put in their plans, they put in their request to build, the request for permits, and the permits do not come. It takes forever. So what do? They go ahead to start building, start construction. When you identify them and you come and post stop work, produce permit, then they start chasing, folks around. And sometimes they even ignore those stop work notices that are issued because the system largely does not respond to the demands. It could be as a result of, the local authorities being understaffed. These are things that we know already. And there are things that we are failing consistently to, resolve. And as long as we continue to fail to resolve these, we will not have any difference. But the builder is the first to get a qualified architect to put the plan together for them, to move to the assembly area to get their permits, and then assemble a qualified team, structural engineers, quantity surveyors, everything to go into this project. If you don't, you are going to have people, creating a floor that must use a ratio of 1:4 or 4:1. They will turn the ratios upside down, and you end up having, poor quality work done, and then at the least stress, these buildings will come down.
Then we'll move on to the authorities, because this is not the first incident. Investigations have been conducted into several other incidents, but usually there's no public closure on these matters. So what should be the way forward regarding these unfortunate incidents?
The Bureau of Public Safety, since as far back as 2017, we have always been asking the state to put out the investigation reports of some of these incidents, right? These are not national security matters. There's nothing national security about a building going up in flames or a market going up in flames or, a building collapsing. So put these investigations out. We want to know what the investigators concluded on. We want to know what the expectations are from that incident so that we will be able to hold people accountable. That has happened. I can bet my last dime. Nobody is going to get jailed. Nobody is going to face any penalty. And the state is just coming in at best, they will go to families, commiserate with them in front of the cameras, give them a few hundreds of CDs and a few, some token, and it makes news, and that's it.
The
So
interior
we
minister
want
has
to
just
see
assured
people.
that investigations will be carried out and people will be held liable. People will be brought to book.
I want to believe Honorable Muntaka. I want to take him for his word, but there again, it's classic. We've heard this over. I've been here for a very long time, since 2009. We've seen this play out every time, and I think at one point I even got myself, into trouble with one of the political parties for saying that the vice president was just engaging, rhetorics, drama, because that's what happens. And several years on, nothing really has changed in the system, right? We're in that country where a building collapsed on the president of the whole, I think that either the Ghana Engineers Association or the Ghana Architects something. The whole president, he himself, his own project collapsed on him and he died. Nothing happened. Okay. So I don't know what happened to Malcolm building, uh, the owners of that facility when it came down. I don't know what happened to the recent Adenta issue. There are several buildings, a church, several of these happens. Who gets jailed? Who gets held accountable? Who gets fined? Who are the people who were putting up this structure? Who are the artisans? Were they qualified? Have they been jailed? We don't know. Now, following those incidents, what is to happen to what has happened to the local authorities, the building inspectors in that local area? What happened to them? What happened to their boss? Not just the building inspectors, but their boss, the overall boss. What happened to him? If nothing happens to them, look, nothing is going to happen on the ground, and we'll continue to make the news. Sometimes sadly on a Sunday, people lose their loved ones who went out not to rob, who went out not to cause public disorder, but to look for daily bread. I think that is most unfortunate, and we need the state to enforce our laws. That enforce our laws and hold people, accountable. Not necessarily the flies on the ground, but hold key persons who have, um, responsibilities, hold them accountable, and we will begin to see results. For instance, if the chief executive of that local area is fired immediately, and all his managers are fired, directors are fired immediately, within the building department, they are all fired immediately. Whenever someone ascends to that seat, he's going to look sharp. He's going to go around and ensure that people do not build unauthorized structures in bad, wrong places. People do not also engage people who are not qualified to put up these structures. Because guess what? If it happens, my head will roll. But nothing happens. So at the end of the day, we all go on. Interior Minister, I'm hoping that Muntaka will do something about this.
Very well. Now, we have several issues to deal with. We have fires, we are flooding currently, and now we are recording a trend of collapsed buildings. What is the real threat to public safety here?
Look, the real threat to public safety here is loss of trust in the system, in the public safety agencies, loss of trust in the system. When you operate a regime where people do not trust the institutions to deliver what they are supposed to deliver, it is chaotic. It gets very chaotic. Everybody does everybody does what they want, and that's social disorder. And so we as a people must make sure that we are carrying out our institutions in such a manner that people trust them. When I walk into a church building today, even here in the United States, I am confident that the building largely 9 out of 10 chances, the building has been inspected by a third party, which is the state institutions, and they have certified that it is worthy to be occupied. I am certain that they have given them the total number of occupancy that the building can hold at a time. I am certain that if something should happen in this building, 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to have public safety institutions arriving to the place on time. It builds, trust in the system. But what we have now, everybody knows that the system does not work. And so everybody is doing what they have to do. And it's not good for nation building.
Very well. Then there's also the matter of emergency response, if you can comment on that. Times that distress calls are made and times that our security agencies respond to the issues.
Well, I must say, when it comes to emergency response, I believe that for our country, if you speak to, let's say, the police or the Ghana Fire Service, they will tell you of all their challenges that they have. But as a country, we have to establish a threshold that when you call an emergency response agency, they will show up within 3 to 5 minutes or 10 minutes. We must have that thing done. Up to date, we really don't know the response time of, say, the police or, say, the fire service or, say, the ambulance, right? We must establish that it helps people in planning for such emergencies as well. But we do not know. One of the biggest challenge of our emergency response agencies is that sometimes in times like this, they fail to effectively coordinate. And we have seen that in the August air crash. We have seen that in several incidents, explosion incidents that have occurred, where I think recently we had one where the minister also clashed with the fire service, team on the ground. So our actions during an emergency are poorly coordinated because we do not simulate some of these incidents as a drill form, even as a professional in industry. Okay, we are required to annually simulate a set of emergency incidents and see how our first responders will react, see how co-workers and workers will react, see how top executive management react, and then we evaluate it, identify all the gaps, and then put forward measures or educational awareness campaigns to block those gaps. As a country, we rarely simulate emergency situations, right? We rarely do that. So when real emergencies happen, then we are found chasing our tails. But if you ask me, I'll tell you that our emergency response agencies, the police, fire service, ambulance, they are very selfless. The only challenge is leadership. And I think once we string our leadership acts together, our people will perform wonders.
One of the challenges our security agencies or if like emergency officers raise is usually access, that sometimes they have difficulty accessing accident scenes. We take the Adenta one, for example. It was difficult getting the excavator to the scene to help with the rescue operation. And one thing that accounts for same is also the nature or how we build and where we build. Do you think from where you sit, we are developing without planning?
Well, it's a complex situation, right? It's very, very complicated. You talk about Adenta, if I understood you right, you are making the Adenta as a case study and asking if our developers are. Can you clarify?
Yes, the Adenta situation, the excavator really, the first excavator they brought, they had challenges getting it to the accident scene. They had to go back and bring a smaller one due to the way buildings had been put up in that particular area. And I'm asking that regarding our development and all the attendant challenges that we see, especially with flooding and these buildings that collapse, are we just going ahead with the development without a proper plan to back the development?
Well, I think that's just what you've said. And I mentioned that build first, approve later. The institutions failing to, as it were, enforce our laws. So people are just building. There is no proper planning of areas. We just take monies from them, issue permits, and they build. So there are places where you can't access, but these are serious matters for emergency response. They are very serious matters for even our own health. Okay, where you live in an area where the buildings are clustered together, there is no road access, everybody is building any space at all they have. It presents a very, very, dicey situation. And most of the time, it comes back to us. It comes back to hurt us. You can look at the situations in the markets, right? We allow people to, you know, put up stalls anywhere, build on fire hydrants, connect power anyhow, and the least trigger, there is complete chaos, and we are rendered helpless. So it's what I'm saying. We need to enforce our laws. We need to enforce our building codes. In the absence of that, these chaotic scenes, these sad scenes will continue to happen. And until we start holding people accountable, why should this happen in your jurisdiction? Why should this happen in your local area under your watch? Because of that, you're losing your job. Then we can have results. But if not, trust me, public safety issues are not economics. It's not like foreign exchange, where you talk about dollar shortages and then suddenly, rates shoot up, or you talk about CD overflow, suddenly rates shoots down. Public safety issues are purely engineering issues. What you put in is what you get.
Another public safety issue, I mean, away from these buildings that have been collapsing, is the issue of flooding. The rains are here, and almost everywhere in Accra is flooded. What accounts for this, and how do we deal with it?
I think Accra's flooding issue is a well-researched issue, right? We all know what causes Accra to flood. We all know what must be done, especially after June 3rd, right? Fire flood disaster. The report is still out there, it's still out on our portal. We all know what has to be done. The fact is that little has been done. And so these things are no longer a surprise to me. We almost always expect them. It's a given that when there are rains, there will be flooding, properties will go down, lives will perish. And it looks like as a country, we have accepted to live with this because it just doesn't make sense, right? Since 2015, we know June 3rd fire flood disasters. We know what the problems are. We know what we should do in order to get this out, the window. We just have failed to do it.
Right.
Collectively as a people, we just have failed to do it.
Right.
And so these results are expected.
Right. Doc, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for speaking to us. Dr. Yaw Akwadaa is the Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety. The news on the grounds is that 3 persons have been rescued from that building collapse. However, 2 did not survive. 1 did. The lone survivor so far has been treated and discharged by the ambulance service on the grounds. So we're still here, bringing you live coverage of that rescue operation at the site of a building collapse at Avenor in North Kaneshie here in Accra. Djabanor still in studio. We'll be going to the grounds pretty shortly to bring you what is happening. Live pictures and sounds are from the ground. We'll be going back there. Jude Duncan is on the ground, but Fred is in studio. And before we went to listen to the Interior Minister, you were walking us through the building code, what it says, the requirements for construction and all that. So if you can wrap up with that for me while we establish contact with Jude and go back to the grounds.
Yeah, so Tuffour, I took you through what the permits needed to be given, institutions which were required to ensure the inspections. And the code also talks about final inspection. So final inspection is conducted when the construction is completed. So inspectors will verify fire safety provisions, sanitation facilities, electrical, plumbing, installation, accessibility requirements, drainage systems, and general compliance with approved plans. Talking about general compliance with approved plans, you ask yourself, the assembly which is supposed to be managing this particular area should by now have had the plan of the building so that in an incident like this, when there's a collapse, what do? You pull out the plan. What's the structure of the building? Was it a 3-floor building? How was it put up? How was it constructed? How does it look like? So that even in your rescue missions and in trying to get people out of the rubble, you know that there's a first floor, and this is how the first floor is. So in excavating, you even understand how you want to excavate.
Right.
You go to the plan shows you a second floor. This is how it looks like. These are the kind of buildings. These are the kind of spaces within this place. It guides the rescuers to excavate, but we do not have anything like that. So it goes back to the question. The authorities who are responsible for ensuring that buildings are put up in a particular way, the authorities which the building code have stated that they have the duty of going to do inspections, what have they been doing? How have they been carrying out these inspections? Do they even carry them out at all? If they do, are they following the regulations? Then comes in the concerns of the 2 engineers we spoke to, the president of the Institute of Engineering and Engineer Kosi Dedey. Who or which people are being held responsible?
Yeah.
So you go into a community, you go into a locality, there are people responsible to ensure that the buildings in the particular locality are constructed in a particular way. They are given permits and all that. Now the question is, when there's a building collapse and there's an investigation, are these people who are in authority held responsible? What kind of sanctions are given or meted out to them? What kind of disciplinary process are they taken through?
Right.
Do they lose their jobs? Are they sent or put before a court to be prosecuted? The people who also build without going through the necessary requirements. So they mentioned the owner of the building. What will happen to the owner of the building when it is realized that you did not go through the process?
Right.
How are you dealt with? Is it going to be the normal thing of, the construction, we've invited a person to the office, and what we hear is there's nothing happening. That's the end of the story. The person moves on to go and construct somewhere else. Because people are not being held responsible, because people are not being punished, from the people in authority to we, the ordinary people who put up buildings, we now feel like we can do anything, anyhow,
and get away with
anywhere,
it
without recourse to the law, and we get away with it. And that's what has brought us to where we are. We look at the Malcolm disaster. There is part of, I have some of the findings, some of the conclusions and the key findings in that particular disaster. And we look at what is there, let's see, and compare to what is happening now. Maybe there might be similarities. So the Malcolm disaster, which happened somewhere in November 2012, these are some of the key findings from the engineering point of view. They said the building suffered from serious structural deficiencies. Concrete used in part of the structure was below the required strength. Some columns were inadequately reinforced and overloaded. There was evidence of poor workmanship and departures from approved engineering standards. Regulatory oversights and inspections were inadequate. The collapse was primarily linked to construction and structural failures rather than soil conditions. These are the recommendations after the report and findings. It says, strengthen building permit and approval processes.
That's the first recommendation.
That's the first recommendation, to strengthen building permit and approval processes. Enforce regular inspections during construction. Then it goes on to say, improve regulations of engineers, architects, and contractors. Establish a national building inspectorate. Ensure quality control construction materials. Quality control of construction materials. Introduce sanctions for non-compliance. Improve capacity of local authorities. Create database of buildings and construction projects. Enhance public awareness. These are the recommendations which have been made. This thing happened in 2012. The report was concluded in 2013. We are in 2026. How many years now? Over 10 years.
Yeah.
Over 10 years. And we are having similar things happening. And the engineers, even for example, the Adenta issue, we are told by the president of the Engineer Institute that the person did not have a permit. The person did not go and seek for any architect to draw. There was no engineer. There was absolutely nothing. You see a building going up in your locality as a municipal works department chief, as a DC, as someone who has been employed within the municipality or district to do something, and you don't go and check whether there's a permit. And if you check whether there's a permit and there's no permit, you don't even go to stop the work. You don't even go to bring the building down because this building does not have a permit. It hasn't gone through the process. And you would wait, then when there's a disaster, you say, oh, you start crying. These are the reasons why people should be held responsible. These are the reasons why people should be put before the court, if possible, sentenced and dealt with. Because today, we wouldn't have been witnessing something like this if 10 years or 12 years ago, these recommendations were fully implemented. We wouldn't have 2 people losing their lives. We wouldn't have rescuers and search workers looking for people who are trapped in the rubble. The way we do things in this country has to change. It has to change. But the question is, who brings the change? Who ensures that these changes are made? They are the people in authority. What do we see? After every disaster, they'll come in their V8s, they'll come in their numbers, coming to visit a site, say the nice things, commensurate with people who lost their lives. Like Akwadaa said, give money to people who have been affected. And what happens? The normal situation goes on as usual.
All right, let's go on the ground. Let's bring viewers pictures from the scene of the building collapse at Avenor here in Accra. Jude Duncan is still on the ground. The search and rescue mission is still working. Hopefully, persons who are or whoever is still trapped in is rescued alive. We're going there. Jude, are you able to report on, or what updates do you currently have? Describe to us the operation as it is being carried out.
So Nana Tuffour Boateng, since we last spoke, we've seen that the convener for this nonsense must stop campaign, who is also a pastor, Reverend Dr. Lawrence Tete, made his way here. He came to say hello to the IGP and also assess for himself everything that has been happening here. In the aftermath of his visit to the scene, he made a prayer for all the servicemen and women who are here helping with rescue efforts. Now in his prayer, he was calling for God's protection and guidance for the servicemen and women who are undertaking this very difficult task, and also for persons feared under the rubble as we speak currently. He is taking leave of us. We've seen other high-ranking officials from the national security also join us. The deputy coordinator, the first ever woman to be in that position, Elizabeth Ama Yanka, was here. She was assessing the situation for herself. But even before she got here, let me add that we saw that other officials from the national security were here also helping with the rescue effort, and intelligence, as we are being told, is very important in this exercise that is currently ongoing. Now, Tuffour, shortly after the visit by the man of God, we saw 2 containers that were partly demolished being brought to the makeshift command center. Now, these containers will turn out to be safes where valuables and other precious items are being kept. But at the time it was brought at this makeshift command center, it was basically filled with stones and money. Now, we saw 2 different containers being brought here. The first one had lots of 10 Ghana Citi notes. The officers made sure nobody touched the money and brought it here where counting took place so they can get a fair idea of the total amount. Now, after counting the money in the first container, it totaled an amount of a little over 400 Ghana cedis. I'm unsure the exact amount, but it was mostly made up of 10 Ghana Citi notes that was in one container. Now, the second bigger container that came or brought before the high-ranking police officials here in my shot, as you can see, clearly damaged, was a safe, because we've seen that it had the features of a safe, a code, and other, security features that clearly point to the fact that this was a safe in the shops or the residence of the building that collapsed. Now, counting is ongoing. Quite a number of money has been seen. You're unable to clearly tell how much is involved here, but if you can see from the screen, some 100 Ghana Citi notes and 200 Ghana Citi notes in there. And I can tell you for a fact that I saw the money in the safe. It was brought here by a NADMO official, and the police made sure that those who are investigating this handled this, right, under all the protocols that is required. So we don't know what the money will be used for, obviously, but what we do know is that it will aid in helping investigators to know what's really transpired or what could have been the issue. But Tuffour, before all of the rubble that we are seeing here, used to be a very tall building, 3-story, we are being told, and on the ground floor was a shop that had the name Q-Test Trends. Q-Test Trends. Now, some shoppers who are familiar with this building tell us that it was a shop where all sorts of things were being sold. So from baby products to clothes to dresses to stationery and other items, all of that were being sold at the Q-Test Trends shop, which was on the ground floor of the building that has been demolished. Now, also, we are being told again by the NADMO deputy boss, Teddy Addy, that the first floor was a restaurant where people came around, gathered in there, had a meal or two when they wanted to. So it was a big story building, and we are being told that some persons used to stay in there because they were caretakers, and of course there was a security man who later will find out that survived this and is the only survivor so far from the persons who were in there. The minister has been clear to us in his final briefing before he left us. According to him, some persons are feared in there, but it is unclear because these are still just unverified reports, and that it could be more, or it could even be that there is nobody in there right now stuck under the rubble. But from what we glean from some onlookers here, eyewitnesses here, and some other persons familiar with the area and this particular building that has been demolished, they tell us that usually when it's raining, people gather and try to seek shelter at the ground floor of the building that has been, or that has collapsed. So that is what we know so far. So it is very likely, and all of this is hypothetical, it could be very likely that there are more people in there, or also very likely that there's nobody in there at all. But the fear is that for the woman and the child, they are known to be people who dwell in there as their abode. They have it as their home where every evening they sleep there. So that is the concern, and it would mean that they were further inside the building, and we are not really sure what the state is, but work is ongoing from 7 a.m. up until now that we've got here. Significant amount of work has taken place. At a point, it was impossible to even come close to where the track on my left is, but you can see that a lot of space has been created because a transformer that was there has been removed to make way for officials and first responders to be able to get a bigger working area to deal with all that is happening here. So now Tuffour Boateng, that is the latest updates as we have it. The IGP is here. The Minister for the Interior, Muntaka Mubarak Mohammed, has taken leave of us together with the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Linda Oklu. Earlier, the Vice President was here. The biggest and the latest update is that some monies found in a safe has been brought here at the makeshift command post, and the police say it would aid in their investigations going forward in this particular case. The Member of Parliament, Ernest Adomako Kion, is still here, together with some other colleague members of Parliament in the Greater Accra region who have joined us here. We'll try and get their thoughts on some of the issues that has taken place here today. Earlier Tuffour, you were asking me about the number of trucks. So I tried to get that particular information, and I'm being told that there is about a total of about 5 trucks in our in the process of the excavation ongoing right now. As you can see, there's 2 here. There's one on my far left, and there are 2 that are going to deposit all the debris they've picked up here. So rescue efforts ongoing, and very shortly, according to the Ghana National Fire Service, we'll get a clearer sense of what the situation is. But also for those who are just joining us, the building that is right next to the collapsed building, we have been told by the Minister for the Interior that this building is coming down. It has no future, and it would have to come down because it has been compromised. Its structural integrity can't be vouched for, and clearly it is not in a good shape to still remain. The minister also mentioned that if you look at, for instance, the kind of iron rods that were used in the building project, they look inferior. Hence, concerns around the kind of building being put up has become rife again. And the minister has assured that investigations will take place and the necessary sanctions will apply. I asked the minister if he indeed knew who the owner of this building was, and he said that the law enforcement will do the necessary investigation and get to the end of that particular matter. So, Nana Tuffour Boateng, that is the latest updates here as far as this demolition, or let me say, a building collapse and now rescue. Let me correct this, it's not a demolition. It's rather a rescue effort from a collapse that took place at 5:07 a.m. this dawn. 5:15, fire service got here, and since then, various security agents, officials, officers, and investigators are here. Not among the list include the National Disaster and Management, NADMO. We've seen the military also here. We've seen officials from the national security here. We've seen the police here in their numbers. The Ghana Ambulance Service is also here, as well as some other officials from the K9 unit of both the police and the military. They came with the specialized dog, the Ghana National Dog Academy. They brought their specialized K9 dogs to help with the rescue effort, and so far that has been going on successfully here at Avenor, where the building collapse took place.
Right, Jude, if your camera could pan around a bit so we can better appreciate the angles at which the operation is being done.
Tuffour, Is there a clearer picture for you now?
Great. So we can see the operation being carried out.
Hello, Tuffour.
2 excavators to the far end and then 1 working opposite it.
Hello, Nana.
So we're seeing the live pictures there from the collapsed building at Avenor, and the excavators busily working there. We can tell from the time the transformer was moved and now the excavator has had a bit more access to the collapsed site, and the 2 on the left have moved up onto the building itself and are excavating debris from the building. There's 1 to the right that is also, it looks like it's loading the debris onto a truck for it to be carted away. Hope is that no one else will die, and whoever remains trapped in there will be rescued alive. But the work is still ongoing, as you can see in your short live pictures from Avenor, and excavators busily digging into the debris there as part of the search and rescue operation. When Jude spoke to the deputy chief fire officer in charge of operations, she did mention that they had to go atop the debris to be able to map out a strategy for the search and rescue mission. So it gives an indication as to why the excavators are working the angles they are working. This shot is to give you an idea of the area where this building collapse has happened. So as we have said, there's Avenor in North Kaneshie, close to Melcom Plus, and also close to the Ashfoam showroom. You can see the makeshift command center that has been put up to help address the rescue operation. The IGP still there, Christian Teteyo, still there. The Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, has been there. The Greater Accra Regional Minister, Lindo Klu, has also been there. Minister for the Interior, Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak, has also been there. The Member of Parliament for the Ukaikwe South constituency is there. And officers or officials from the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, the Ghana Police Service, the Ghana National Fire Service, the Ghana Ambulance Service, and the military are all there. Would have been great to see the other angle where the adjoining building sits and look at what space has been created there by the excavators as they continue to dig through the rubble. We're working to see if we can bring you shots from the other end of the collapsed building, but clearly work is still ongoing. You can see the machine operator being quite careful with the digging. So they go in and then they scoop the rubble and they load onto the truck. And that is what is currently being done. So the cameraman is panning so you can see the other side of the collapsed building. So it appears to me as shops on the other side. What looks like a food joint, a Lotto kiosk.
So they are
wooden shops, yeah. Wooden structures. Yeah.
Structures over there. Now, when you look at the current videos you are getting from the place and compare it to what we saw in the morning and some few hours ago, you would realize that the debris, the level of the debris has reduced as compared to about an hour ago, where you had a lot of it up there. You realize that because of the excavation, a lot of the debris have reduced. The excavators are working quickly to be able to take away the debris from the site and see whether we could still get people in there or not. You check the surrounding of the area, and this we mentioned earlier. In incidents such as this, a lot of the times you see the general public or coming closer to where the incident is. But from the shots we have from the place, you realize that it's been well managed. The management of the area has been very good.
Crowd and all
The
that.
security has been able to cordon off the area to ensure that the people with expertise are the ones within the cordon off area, so the work can go on smoothly. Time passed, you see the members of the public who are usually the first respondents or massing up around the place. But this situation, you realize that it's just the people who would need to work in the area who are there, including journalists. It's quite a good action taken there by the people. And
very well. Let's go back and hear from Jude. Jude Duncan is still on the ground. So these are his live pictures from Avenor. I don't know if a discovery has been made yet. Let's find out from him. Jude, what's happening? What's going on now?
Tuffour. So by the minute, officials who are engaged in the rescue effort are bringing out an item after an item. Earlier, I reported to you that they had found a safe, 2 different containers containing money. Now, we've seen also that a motorcycle has been retrieved from the rubble. We are unsure who the motorcycle belongs to, but it has been retrieved, and if you can see clearly in the shot, some persons are attending to it. We are unsure who this belongs to, obviously, or we are even unsure where in the building this was. But clearly, what we can tell you is that this was under the rubble, it was in the debris, and now it's been retrieved. Hopefully and soon, if there are any other persons in there, we will be able to give you that indication. But clearly, what we can also tell you right now is that because of the kind of items that was on sale at the Cutest Trend shop, the shop which was on the ground floor of this building, we are having an idea of some of the things that, you know, were inside the shop. So you can see some plastics, you can see some all manner of things, even clothes, right? And other baby, you know, products from like bathing pants and all of that were or have been retrieved. So clearly a lot is ongoing as far as the rescue and the excavation process is ongoing. All the time when something is retrieved from the rubble, it is brought to the makeshift command center, right, where the IGP and his other officials are, and it is left over there for the investigators to take over. So we have retrieved money, we've retrieved a motorcycle, and we've also seen to an extent, or we have an idea of the various things that were in the shop as of the time of the demolition. Various different things are coming out, from children's toys to clothes to baby products and even food, right? We are seeing all of that as part of the debris being carried by the ongoing excavation work. So that is the latest update. A motorcycle has been retrieved from the debris. money has been retrieved from the debris, and there's ongoing work to find a mom and a child believed to be still under the rubble. So this is the latest update for our lovely viewers who are following our coverage right here on ChannelOne TV as far as this process is concerned.
All right, Jude there. Jude Duncan bringing us a live report regarding the retrievals that have been made so far. But we'll continue showing you the live pictures from that search and rescue operation at Avenor. Even while we continue with the discussions here in studio, we'll keep the pictures live so you can see what efforts are being made and, of course, the results thereof. Currently in your shots, you can see some of the fire officers, I'm sure, engaging in a chat about the operation so far. Behind them is the command center that Jude spoke of. So ordinarily you find at an incident like this a command center where the entire operation will be coordinated from, and that's where the IGP is now seated with his men and of course officers from the various other agencies engaging in this search and rescue operation. So as you can see in your shot, a truck has been filled with debris. It will be carted away. This gives the excavator more room to access the collapsed building and to dig out or dig through the rubble in search of any lives that may be trapped underneath. The transformer that was earlier reported to have been impeding the work of the officers has been relocated or has been moved. This movement, we understand, was done by the Ghana National Fire Service together with the Electricity Company of Ghana. Later, when everything is done, it will be assessed and a decision will be made as to whether it be brought back to its original position or it be relocated. So this is Avenor, North Kaneshie, Okaikoi South, and search and rescue mission currently ongoing. From where I sit, I see 3 excavators at work currently, 3 excavators at work. And then you have the trucks that are carting away the debris. So when they dig, they'll load onto the trucks, and then the trucks will take the debris away from the site. Hopefully this comes to an end soon. Hopefully we hear of some good news at the end of it. And you can see, Fred, you can see the high tension poles in the area. So it's important that the ECG, for now, temporarily takes out the power from the area so that at least we're able to prevent or avoid any further casualties. And the other danger too is that if this, as we are told, there's a 3-story building. So there's also a possibility of a further collapse within the collapsed, within the debris. So it's reason why it's important that the layman or the ordinary Ghanaian, as good as your heart is and as much as you want to help, you stay back and allow the professionals, those with expertise, to do the work that they've been trained to do.
Like Jude mentioned earlier, that area has a lot of high tension cables over there. So the powers had to be put out once the building went down. Officials had to work on the situation. Once it was put out, we were told that there was a transformer which had to be removed, like you reported earlier. That transformer has been removed. The hope of everyone is that it's 3 p.m. It's 3:30 p.m. now. The building went down at 5 p.m.
5 a.m.
5 a.m. It's been about 10 hours to 11 hours of rescue mission. The hope is that this rescue mission is able to end before night or before evening, where the place becomes dark. Because of the situation, the lights are out. So it would be really difficult to continue a search mission in the evening without lights. It's the hope of everyone, and I'm sure with the officials, that they would be able to at least get the debris out of the place before night falls and it becomes dark, and it makes the work much more difficult. More security officials are coming into the place.
It looks like the items they retrieved are being, well, they've loaded it onto the buckets of a police truck.
Yes.
We're not sure where they're taking it.
You know, a lot of these things would be used as exhibits for investigations. So the police would need to keep it safe so that when investigations begin, they can have all these things to help them to be able to investigate this particular collapse of the building. You know, in investigations, you talk to people, you talk to owners, you talk to members of the public who live around the place. Also, you need to identify some of the things within the building. So what was the building meant for? What was it constructed for? Was it a residential facility? Was it a commercial facility? Or was it both? And if it was a commercial or residential facility, what kinds of things were within this particular building? Were they permitted to be there? Did they contribute to a collapse? So it's very important that the investigators and security officials, once they see some of these things, would be able to have to take them for safekeeping to allow for investigations. For example, the money which was found, you need to count the money. You saw the officers counting the money, know the amount of money within there. Somebody will surely show up to be the owner of that particular shop. That person can help identify who actually rented the shop to her or him or her. That could lead to the owner of the building. So there are so many angles of investigations which would take place, which would need evidence. And it's so important that we are having these things being kept and not just left around because maybe they are destroyed or there's no use for them. So it's good. It's good the way the things are going. It's also very encouraging that you still have these officers from the National Fire Service and other agencies not giving up. Usually you go to certain places like that and you see that there's an attitude of we've done what we can do.
Yes.
Let it go. But from the videos and photos we are seeing that these are not people who are giving up. These are
relentless efforts
who are putting in a lot of effort to ensure that everything is done there. If there are still people in there, the people will be removed and taken out. If there is nobody there, we thank God that there will be nobody there. But then the debris would be taken out. So it's very encouraging to see that they are dedicated officers who are putting in their best to get these things removed. Don't forget, these things they are doing is also putting their lives in danger.
True.
It's not like their lives are not in danger. Some of them are going on top of the debris. Some of them are helping remove the things. Even the excavators and where they are stationed. You mentioned that there could be a possible collapse of whatever is beneath the rubble. If that is there, whoever is on that excavator's life is under threat. So, I mean, sometimes we need to also appreciate the kind of job these people do for us. Yes, we will hold them responsible for some of their things when they do, but also when we need to appreciate their work, we would have to appreciate it. And these are some of the things we are going to see. Look in the shot, how they are trying to take out iron rods.
Yeah, a lot of iron rods.
Take out iron rods.
And due to the collapse, they are mangled in a way. It makes it difficult.
Make it difficult to get it into the truck to be sent away. So, I mean, it's so far so good. Very good work being done there. And we need to encourage them to do more so that we are able to get this thing cleared and be assured of the fact that there's no one there. And if there are people there, they are removed. If there are anybody, if there are people still there, our prayer and our hope is that they survive the situation. It's not an easy situation. They are able to survive the situation. It's been more than 10 hours being under a rubble. If you are still alive, I can imagine what is going through your mind, how you're surviving the pain you are going through in there. And our prayer is that if there's anyone there, the good Lord should hold them up so that we can get them out alive. If there are no persons beneath there, praise be to God. Would continue take out the debris and ensure that we get to the bottom of this collapse and people are held responsible. That we cannot close an eye to. We need to ensure that after this, whoever is found culpable of anything which led to the collapse of the building, the person is held responsible and dealt with in accordance with law. We shouldn't allow this to be one of the other things we've allowed to go in this country, where things happen and nobody is held responsible. This time around, like the Interior Minister says, was going to encourage the local government minister to ensure that his people being the people within the local government service, perform their duties and perform them the way it's expected to be performed. The people are held responsible for some of their actions they take. They are not left to go back to business as usual. Whoever is supposed to be punished, whoever is supposed to face the law, whoever is supposed to respond to things that need response to, are made to do these things. We shouldn't just keep quiet. We shouldn't just watch to allow for something like this to happen again. These things have happened too many times in this country. Indeed. We've mentioned Melcombe, we've mentioned Newtown, we've mentioned Medina. We shouldn't sit down to mention something else. Right. Some of these things need to be taken, and serious actions needs to be taken up about some of these things.
And thankfully the rains have stopped. And so it reduces the level of impediments to the work, the actual work by the officers. I think the national NADMO coordinator has shown up there. He should be there somewhere. Yeah, yes, that's him. That's him right there. Also, well, to motivate his men to assist, to assess, and to help with the ongoing search and rescue mission. So indeed, it's an interagency collaborative effort that is currently ongoing in Avenor, where a 3-story building collapsed early in the morning on Sunday. The rescue mission has been ongoing, and so far we understand only one survivor has made it. The other 2 have been confirmed dead. We understand that the NADMO boss has been there since dawn, actually. He's been there since this morning when the incident happened. We also understand that it's not been confirmed as to whether or not there's still a human life or a human being underneath the rubble, but the work continues or progresses as though there is someone still trapped. And so they're working quite, if you like, carefully to hopefully retrieve or rescue anyone who may still be trapped in the rubble following that collapse. It's been a long day for the officers on the ground. They have been putting in the work, and as has been said by all those we've spoken to, accountability and enforcement should be the chorus going forward, so that indeed when people are held liable for their actions or inactions, some of these incidents may be avoided or prevented. If the building code is not complied with, of course, action must be taken. And we look forward to the investigations and the outcome of same and the report and it should be made public. It should be published so that we can all follow through the recommendations that will accompany it, and then of course the accountability that should come with same. Work currently progressing at the site of that building collapse in Avenor. 3 rescued, only 1 survivor out of among the 3, 2 confirmed dead by authorities on site. A command center set up opposite the collapsed site where the police and other agencies are coordinating the rescue efforts from. So you'd notice that they dig into the debris and they load same onto trucks, and then the debris is taken away from the site. A lot of iron rods there. Of course, the collapse has made it difficult. So it's not like there are straight iron rods lying there that you can easily load away. So if you noticed, a firefighter has a cutter. The one who had climbed onto the truck, I think he has a cutter with which they are cutting into the mangled iron rods so that they can cut it away from the site. So we're bringing you live pictures from Avenor, and we're showing you what is happening currently there. The search and rescue mission that is ongoing following that building collapse, a 3-story building that collapsed on Sunday morning. Jude Duncan has been reporting from the scene since morning, and kudos to him and his camera crew for all the work that they've done so far. We're waiting for updates regarding the search and rescue itself, and then of course the clearing of the debris, and then what will transpire after. The Interior Minister and the Greater Accra Regional Minister have had to leave because according to them they have to attend to other issues of the national concern, of present concern, and so they have had to leave. However, the Inspector General of Police is still on site. The Member of Parliament for Kaikwe South is also there. The NADMO boss, as we have established, has been there since morning and is still on the grounds. Officials of the Electricity Company of Ghana also there. They have assisted with the movement of that transformer to create space or allow access onto the collapsed building for the excavators to do the digging into the rubble. We want to bring you an earlier recorded interview of the survivor. The one person that survived spoke to Jude Duncan early on. So let's hear what he said.
According to the Greater Accra Mayor, Nick Papo, he pointed out to this young man as one of the survivors. He was in the building at the time of the demolition, at the time of the collapse rather. And I'll try to get his thoughts very briefly. Hello, sir. Good morning and welcome to ChannelOne TV.
Good morning.
Sorry about the incident you have just faced, and commiserations really with you. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm not feeling fine now. In short, I'm not happy at all because what happened today, I don't expect that.
Were you in the building as of the time the building collapsed?
Yes, no, I did the building now. As I just see the one pillar fall, now I think come out beside the building. One of my colleagues will still said the building. As that one hear the noise, that one still come out. That one still want to snap the pillar, go stand, go give the guy get the house. The next time, the building begin to fall. Now me wrong. Now that one still wrong, and the building press up for ground there.
So how many people were in the building as of the time the building collapsed?
There is 2 people, but one in the most there. The building hit that one, but other guy is stay this building, but that one jump and break his ribs.
Wow. So he's been hurt. Has he been sent to the hospital?
Yeah. Sent to the hospital.
Yourself, were you sent to the hospital for any checks or assessment?
Yes. They treat my leg. I have some medical issue.
What hospital were you sent to?
No, ambulance came and take me there and treat me. Yeah.
Who owns this building? Do we know the owner? And usually what happens here normally?
Yeah, it's a normal building for us. I'm security here. I've been here a year plus. No? Here is where business, the store here is business, where they do business.
What kind of business?
They sell anything, provision, mineral, this type of thing, water. That is it. But today I don't expect what happened. My guys, that is my final issue because now I'm
Very distraught, of course, as expected. That's the survivor so far. You heard him speaking to Jude Duncan there, but this is a previously recorded interview. It was earlier on in the day. He gave an account of what he saw, that he heard and saw one pillar give way, and that's when he decided to run out of the building. So he is the survivor. 2 have been confirmed dead, and we're hoping and praying that whoever else is found, if indeed there's someone still trapped underneath the rubble, remains alive, survives the situation. So, I mean, Fred, when you listen to the gentleman, it gives you an idea of how busy the building or what it serves to the people around there. Earlier, Jude also mentioned that when it rains, it's a building that people seek shelter from.
No, since we've been here, it's been going through my mind. The question is, look at the time it happened, at dawn, and looking at the narrative which has been given about how busy the building could be at certain times where people go to shop and everything.
Yeah.
Could you have imagined if it was daytime, where normal working activities were taking place? What could have transpired, and the number of people who would have been affected by this thing or caught up in this thing? It's quite. When I think about it that way, it becomes a lot more worrying for me, because I could have been the one there. You could have been the one there.
It could have been any of us.
It could have been any of us who would be going around that time trying to pick up something from the police, and this thing will happen. By the grace of God, it didn't happen during the day. It happened when there was less activity and very few people in there. It's a worrying situation. The scene and the story the gentleman just told us from Jude's interview, it's also very worrying. And this goes back to the report of the Malcolm disaster and the recommendations. Because the gentleman tells us that he had one of the pillars give way. And when you look at the Malcolm disaster and exactly what happened over there, it doesn't look different. Yes, we are waiting for investigations to be conducted. We cannot sit here and conclude that it's the same thing which took place. But then, from what he says, he gives us an idea of what might have transpired at the place.
Yeah.
And that idea of what might have transpired includes the pillars. And if it's indeed an issue with pillars, that particular issue was raised within the report of the Malcolm disaster and what had to be done, which, as we speak now, has not been done. I don't think that in this country we value human life.
If we did, would have put in a lot of measures to...
It brings me back to the question. We don't, the statement of not valuing human life, because there are human beings who would be staying in these buildings, living in these buildings, working in these buildings. There are human beings whose life would be at risk if the necessary requirements are not put in place. At the end of the day, we cannot get up and say, oh, we just lost one person. One person, the loss of one person is a serious issue.
Indeed.
The loss of one person is a serious issue, not talk about two. And if we value human lives, we won't be doing what we are doing. We won't be sitting there accepting some of the things we accept.
Yeah.
We won't be praising people for praising them sake for not doing anything. We'll be angry as a people.
Yeah.
We'll be angry as leaders. We'll be angry as citizens at some of these things which continue to happen and nothing is done about them. We cannot continue to do the things that we're doing the same old ways we've been doing them. The rains and floods have exposed so much wrong in this country.
Suppose there are inefficiencies.
Indiscipline,
yeah.
Lack of respect to the laws and regulations, the absence of responsibility on people who bear the responsibility to act and not act. The rains have exposed so many things. As we speak today, we are talking about the building collapse. But you go to Klagon just this morning.
Yeah.
The rains killed one person because of floods.
Yeah.
In Pantine, there's a car which was washed away. In other areas which we have not reported, people are facing so many, so different kinds of difficulties because of floods and because of the fact that we do not take action and we not do the right thing. You drive on the road and you see floodwaters all over. And you know the sad part of it, floodwaters with litter in them. If it was just water, you just say, oh, maybe the intensity of the rain at a particular time was a lot. So then it allows for the water to come up and recede by itself because of the intensity. But no, that's not just floodwaters. It comes with litter.
Indeed.
It comes with litter.
Yeah.
You go to places where people are not supposed to build, and they are building. Go to Pantine, go to Abokobi, go to the Ramsar site, and people are building. In fact, there's a video I've received somewhere from the Spintex area where places which under normal circumstances did not flood.
Never used to flood.
Never used to flood.
Yeah.
Today
are getting flooded.
Yeah. Because of the irresponsibility of we citizens and authorities who are supposed to act.
It's the indiscipline.
Yes, for us, we are a country of indisciplined people. People are not happy when we say it. But we are a country of indisciplined people.
They'll say you use some, not all.
You see, obviously not everybody is indisciplined. But a lot of us are indisciplined. A lot of us are indisciplined.
So I keep saying, if we should begin to monetize people's indiscipline, and that for an assembly, a local assembly, that is revenue for you.
Yeah.
That is punishment for the person engaging in the indiscipline act. And that is lessons for whoever is looking on so that they don't also engage in it. Talk about the demolitions at the various Ramsar sites, for example. The people before putting up the building failed the place. So if you pull down the building only and you go, you haven't necessarily restored the area because the failing still remains there.
Who even bears the cost for the demolition?
So that's what I'm saying. We need to monetize that indiscipline. Get the people who own those structures, who put up those structures, to pay for the demolition and to pay for the excavation of the filling. That way you send a stronger message to whoever is looking on or whoever is planning to also go into that areas. If we begin to monetize it this way, it's indiscipline, all right. You have found, you have investigated, or you have found the people. Once you begin to monetize their indiscipline, it sends a strong message. I mean, I believe in that strongly. The assembly generates some revenue, and then the indiscipline is stopped because people now see that there's actual punishment. And then now you are certain, there's the certainty of punishment serving as a deterrent.
I agree with you. There was a politician, a famous politician, General Mosquito, says, a law which you do not enforce is an advice.
Exactly.
If
it remains an advice.
You don't enforce it, it's an advice. And people decide to take advice or not take advice. So when there are rules and regulations which comes with punishment, and you do not enforce those rules and regulations, everybody does what they want to do, because after all, nobody will do anything.
Exactly. There's no accountability at the end of the day.
Yes, nobody will hold me responsible. Nobody will hold me accountable. I am free to do what I want to do. And that should end. we shouldn't continue like that as a country. We shouldn't continue like that as a people. You see, for me, in where I live, sometimes I drive past certain places and I'm like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
Don't we have people in charge of this place? There's a place where you know very well you are not supposed to build. And you drive past and in 2 days, you've seen that the place has been filled and there's a building taking place. And you know what is interesting about it? The assembly is about 200 or 300 meters away from the place.
And the construction of a building is not a hidden.
It's not hidden.
Process.
You see, these are streams. This is a stream where somebody is filling. So there's sand being brought. There's whatever being brought to fill the place. So you can't tell me as an assembly that you did not see what was happening or you didn't take notice of what was happening. You can't tell me as an assembly that when whoever was constructing this building would just collapse or started putting it up, you did not have an idea. Yes, let's take it that the person did not come to you. The person did not follow the process or the various processes they needed to follow, get the various permits they needed to get before starting the construction. But are you telling me that you did not see the building being put up? When you say we went to put stop work and nobody followed that instruction, what did you do about it? Did you just leave it? You just went to write the stop work and go, and you still continued, left it to be continued to completion?
Because what's the effect of that stop
What's
work?
the effect
Stop
of
work
that
means
stop work? Stop work. If the
Or
person
is it that you go and write it there so that the people will come and see you?
And do what? If they say stop work, stop work. If a person continues to construct, what do? You arrest and punish. If possible, demolish. But you write stop work, either the people come and see you, whatever they do with you, it is your own matter. You leave the work to continue, hoping that, nothing will happen. Then something happens. Then you sit in your office and say, people are not listening to us. The assembly doesn't know what to do, and we are now going to engage in demolitions and demolition of buildings. It really doesn't cut it for me.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of challenges, and I feel people should just be honest in what they do. We should be honest and diligent in what we do as a people. If you are placed in a position of authority with a mandate, you should be able to carry out such mandate with all honesty and responsibility attached to same. We've been bringing you live pictures from Avenor, where a building collapsed, killing 2. One person has survived the accident. Search and rescue mission is still ongoing. We'll take a break here, but we'll bring you updates as and when we get them. You heard from Jude Duncan, who has been on the grounds since morning. He engaged Tuffour in the early part of today, and then I took over with Fred Djabanor. This is ChannelOne Television. Stay with us. We'll bring you updates when we get them, but subsequently, you will get more details on the ChannelOne Newsroom CNR, which will be live at 8 p.m. later tonight. I am Tuffour Boateng. Many thanks for your time.